tonight. You and I are about to watch these students undergo a brutal process to awaken their beast genes. The stronger their physical bodies are, the more powerful the creature they can summon. The moment the serum enters, the room fills with screams as everyone collapses from the agonizing transformation. Everyone except one guy. His name is Yahei, and he sits completely still, like nothing is even happening. The teacher writes him off as weak, thinking his body rejected the serum. Suddenly, a massive shockwave of energy explodes around him, blasting everyone straight into the air. Yahihei has awakened, and what lies inside him is absolutely lethal. Later on, every student goes through a genetic scanner to identify the exact beast they inherited. When Yahei steps up, everyone expects something massive. Instead, the scanner shows nothing, and the room erupts in laughter. They assume his inner beast is so pathetically weak that the device cannot even register it. But they have no idea. Yehei just unlocked something unheard of, the legendary ability to awaken multiple beast forms all at once. Now pay close attention. The system actually marks him with the potential to become the absolute king of monsters. Mission to study at home, planning to return only after he becomes way stronger. The teacher doubts him and tells him to prepare to repeat the year. The young man insists, explaining he awakened an incredibly powerful bloodline and promises to work his hardest. Seeing his sheer determination, the instructor finally agrees to grant him the leave. With the permission locked in, Yehei immediately starts crafting his very own evolution plan. He had some cash from selling his house after his parents passed away, and his monster, Diora, had several attribute points to allocate. He figures out these valuable extra points came directly from the serum he injected earlier, so he decides to blow all his money on that substance, aiming for a much faster evolution than physical training. Arriving at the Warrior Center, Yehi is stunned by the massive crowd of people who have already awakened their beasts. One of Demora's skills is sensing the aura of these creatures, allowing him to feel the presence of every single one. Suddenly, a wave of intense fury from his beast begins to boil deep inside him. One tap on his shoulder snaps him back. The very charismatic girl, and Yehi confesses his plan to buy the serum. The young girl finds it pretty weird, considering he is just a beginner starting out. She warns him about the side effects. Can you believe the beginner vial costs a staggering 400,000? Even so, he asks if there is any way to get a discount. Instead, she hands him her contact info, totally making his day. In the end, Yi spends every single penny buying and consuming a massive amount of the serum. Feeling strong enough, he decides it is the perfect moment to explore a hidden dungeon, a dimension crawling with beasts ranked from E to S. He heads to an E rank zone, which is empty because it has been fully cleared. Standing right in front of the dimensional rift, he knows this is the first step toward reaching his ultimate goal. Second, he steps through the portal on foot. A sharp-fanged rabbit ambushes him out of nowhere on the creature without breaking a sweat, finding out it is worth about 1,001. Far from satisfied, Yehi decides to hunt down level 2 beasts to face a much bigger challenge. A giant worm appears right in front of him, the perfect target to test out his newly gained strength. He uses his skills to fight the beast, which shoots fangs at him, annoyed seeing his expensive jacket ruined. That is when he realizes he cannot unleash his full power yet because this body is still completely untrained. To make up for it, he decides to cheat by activating the Demon Emperor bloodline through Demora, the giant worm, without a second thought, and completely obliterates it. After the fight, Yehei notices the poison melted his sword, and he feels incredibly hungry after burning so much energy against a level 2 monster. Suddenly, a delicious scent catches his attention. The loot is a green magic core radiating an absolutely irresistible fragrance. Driven by instinct, he eats the core and feels his compatibility level with Diora instantly shooting up. Realizing these cores are way more effective for getting stronger than those expensive potions he bought. Dreading wasting his hard-earned cash, Yehi decides to spend the rest of the night hunting down every monster in sight. The next morning, exits the rift with boosted compatibility and several cores to sell, leaving the receptionist totally speechless at this newbie's massive haul. A bit later, a squad preps to raid a rank D rift, but someone gets hurt. Let's see how this unfolds together. You and I are about to watch how Yiho sneaks into high-paying missions using a fake ID, since being underage means he cannot legally do this stuff. The group leader agreed, ordered him to just watch, claiming the best help he could give. was staying out of the way. So they set off hunting for a blood jade flower in an oasis guarded by level 2 monsters. But wild demon rats suddenly ambushed them along the road, though a hunter named Hood quickly sliced through the beasts using his deadly daggers, leaving Yehi pretty impressed with his skills. They kept moving on foot as their leader warned that engine noise would only draw out oasis monsters. He handed out roles to the team, repeatedly telling Yiho to keep his mouth shut and not interfere. To kick off the plan, they tossed a grenade to lure out the first massive sand dragon. But that loud blast did not just attract the beast. A terrifying bold guy showed up too. Lin easily took down the dragon, but a stray claw instantly slashed right at him. Without hesitating, Yehi killed the beast, leaving the veterans completely speechless and instantly earning their hard-won respect. After the battle, they gathered the dragon soul essence, which honestly looked like a mango seed. Right as the captain is celebrating their loot, watch closely, Hood stabs him in the back, throwing everyone into pure panic. Teamed up with a bold thug named Ho Ping, notorious for stealing loot from other explorer groups. Bleeding out, Lin demanded to know how Ho Ping found them, since he only revealed the coordinates inside the rift. Connected the dots, explaining that Hood marked their path when he threw daggers at those desert rats earlier. Realizing the kid was too sharp, the traitor threw a dagger straight at him, but Yehi stopped the blade with insane reflexes and decided to end this game. Bold Thug immediately ordered his execution. Hood unleashed a barrage of strikes, but Yehi blocked them with zero effort. Then the traitor tried a sneak attack, giving our main character the perfect opening to test his devastating new ability. Such an overwhelming display of raw power made Captain Lin seriously doubt this kid was a regular rookie. Enraged, Ho Ping demanded to know his clan. Hearing it was the demon sect, the thug immediately unleashed his monstrous bear form. Ho Ping swelled to tens of times his original size and charged furiously at Yehi, who did not even flinch. To avoid getting crushed, he targeted his giant opponent's legs. The bear tried to strike, but Yehi dodged, and let's be real, you're going to love this destroyed him with a meteor rain. Completely defeated, Ho Ping swore Yehi's demon would pay and cursed him. Looking at his face, it was definitely not his first or last curse. Soon the university entrance exam day consisted of high-stakes duels finally arrived. An announcer wished luck to humanity's future protectors as the battles kicked off. Over in Arena 6, our main character was still missing, leaving his opponent, a popular girl from his class, totally frustrated that she couldn't show off her power. The referee was about to declare a forfeit when the teachers felt a massive energy aura approaching like a shooting star. Yehi made an incredibly dramatic entrance. Rival barely had time to blink before taking a brutal kick straight to the face, knocking her out. The match ended so fast that Yehi actually felt disappointed it didn't last a bit longer, but the entire crowd erupted after that spectacular show. The boy felt incredibly empowered by the blood jade flower Captain Lin gifted him. The tournament continued. Yehi effortlessly won his next round, and then another, leaving the audience more and more hyped with his incredible performance. Recruiters from multiple elite universities approached our hero. With total confidence, the boy declared he would only attend the capital university, turning away other scouts. He was absolutely certain he would easily win the entire tournament. Suddenly, suited officials arrived to reevaluate his martial level, baffled by how he jumped from level 3 to 9 so fast. Youth explained that he had trained intensely during the past 3 months, successfully breaking his genetic lock. The officials froze in absolute shock before rushing off to report the news. Seeing their intense reaction, Yiho wondered if he had said a bit too much. And that is where we leave things, watching everyone celebrate with family, while our hero stands completely alone in this world. Get ready, because you and I are about to see his master cheering him on from afar in front of the television. In the qualifiers, Yijo faced Luwin, a level 8 beast bloodline user, who is known as a truly terrifying opponent. The match started with Luo attacking with claws, but Yihei blocked the strike with his bare hand, totally unfazed. He realized that this strike was way weaker than those brutal attacks from Huang back in the desert. Showing no mercy, he crushed Lu Xuan's hand and delivered a devastating blow that slammed him into the arena. He realized that nobody here could match him, while the hyped crowd watched him dominate as Lu Shen was carried away. Meanwhile, over at the Capital University, Top recruiters were already searching for this mysterious fighter's full file, but in another arena, an intense battle was erupting, starring the fierce Kailing, known as the Queen and number 2 of Aiming Academy, against Liu Qinggu, the untouchable top fighter of their school. The blonde fighter charged ahead ruthlessly, but the dark-haired girl blocked the attack using her magic. Suddenly, she grabbed Sholing's hand and countered with a punch so brutal it made the announcer go wild. Watch closely now, because the number 2 fighter unleashed her tiger form and lunged like a predator hunting prey, unfazed. Qingshu countered with a secret family technique, but the tigress answered with a devastating special kick. Their powers clashed, creating a massive hurricane of light. Smoke cleared. Kailing stood for a second, then collapsed. Qingju stood tall as the ultimate winner. Shortly after, they held the lottery for the quarterfinals. Yihu drew a sphere with the letter A, revealing his opponent would be a literal giant named Shen Jiaguan. Despite his massive size, he looked totally relaxed and even invited Yihi to watch the next match together. Together, they watched Chuzhou from Yihi's school dominate, leaving the opposing academy's principal absolutely devastated. Yi asked the giant if he could beat that defeated student since they came from the same academy. Shenjigan modestly replied that as the class president, he could easily crush him and 3 others at once, but he admitted he saw Yihi as his real threat, feeling like he was facing a sleeping volcano. Finally, it was time for their ultimate showdown. I know what you're thinking, but after bleeding, Shen shocked Yihi by activating a literal nuclear radiation shield. The giant then summoned an ancient power, combining the bizarre forms of a massive serpent and a deer. It was such a weird combo that Ye got distracted analyzing it, taking his first hit of the entire tournament. Shen attacked again with a bear spirit, and blocking it, Yehei realized this fight would be tougher than he expected. Only he got caught in a tight rear naked choke that nearly crushed him completely, and was just playing with him, throwing him aside and stalking him like a wild cat hunting its prey, finishing him off with an attack called Eagle's Flight, leaving Yihi with absolutely no chance to defend himself. Medics were already preparing to step in when Shen felt an insanely absurd power rising right behind his back. For the first time, Yihi channeled a demonic beastly form, terrifying the giant, who knew this power was his ticket to the Capital Academy. The principal could not believe the insane amount of nuclear radiation pouring out of our main character in his beast form. This level of raw power worried the examiners, even though the arena had special barriers to block energy leaks. Completely ignoring the danger, the hyped crowd was just celebrating Yehei's destructive strength. Shen felt blood dripping from his nose and prepped a multi-animal combo, while Yihi just stood there waiting. Waited for his opponent to get close before counterattacking with enough force to nearly tear the giant's arm off. Fueled by the wild fury of his transformation, our main character decided it was time to strike back. Yiha slashed with his claws, but Shen's quick block surprised him, and climbing his back, almost crushed him again. The main character focused all his power, but before he could strike, he froze as Shinji suddenly surrendered. This abrupt surrender completely frustrated Yihi, since he could not unleash his full power before reverting to normal, exploded with excitement over another victory, and showed absolutely no mercy to poor Shen, quickly turning his sudden surrender into viral memes and sharing them all over social media. While our hero's feat went viral, the principal of Shen's academy was absolutely fuming over the loss. The giant walked up and threatened to beat him senseless if he did not chill, instantly terrifying the old man. And that is how the semi-finals shaped up with 3 Ansheng students, and I cannot wait to watch the finale with you. Get ready, because you and I are watching Yihi go head-to-head with the powerful Liu Qingju. The crowd went wild seeing both of them unleash massive beast auras. With the arena prepped for a clash, they stepped up to the referee to kick off the duel. His opening move, Yihi released a gas so foul it almost made the girl pass out from the horrific stench. Smoke did not clear and kept swirling around our main character. Even so, she braced herself to fight, complained about the smoke, while the host tried to keep them entertained. In reality, Yihi set all this up to buy time and form a strategy, knowing Liu was far stronger and any mistake meant total defeat, so he decided to strike first. The warrior tried to block, but the sudden shift in direction caught her off guard, forcing a quick dodge. Yihi was utterly relentless, forcing the girl to scramble backward, which only made the demon raging inside her even more furious. Liu was stunned by Yihee's endless barrage of strikes, showing no signs of fatigue. Facing the situation, she unleashed her family's secret techniques and sprouted massive wings, revealing her magical beast, the Netherbird, for the very first time. Then she warned Yihee she would not be held responsible for her beast's immense power. This warning actually thrilled the guy, since it meant he could also unleash his own beast's full power. This time, Liu tried to catch Yihee off guard, but he immediately countered her without a single second of hesitation. Pay attention here! Their blows clash. The smoke clears to reveal a completely shocked and frozen Liu Qingju, in total disbelief, because Yihee's rage and raw power seemed to have tripled. Yihee channeled all his energy into his back spikes, blasting a massive atomic energy beam from his mouth as it surged forward with a roar, through everything in its path, leaving Liu Qingju with no choice but to deflect the blow with her feathers. Even so, the impact was devastating, scattering dangerous energy bolts all over the arena right toward the audience. Those wild energy blasts were easily deflected by Hung Qings, the respected mayor of An, took the opportunity to declare that everyone would witness the birth of the strongest champion this city has ever seen. Meanwhile, back in the arena, Liu Qingju was still reeling, unable to believe her defense was completely shattered. Before she could even think of giving up, the girl had a shocking vision of her ancestors speaking to her. Her mother, dressed in black, urged her to wake up and strike back with everything. Since Yihee was a terrifyingly strong opponent, she decided to risk absolutely everything on one final desperate assault. However, this time Yihee did not dodge. Liu was utterly confused until he stared at her with demonic eyes and threw a brutal punch, demanding she fight for real. Completely humiliated, she could only block her face, having never taken such a beating. Finally, Liu Qingju unleashed all her pent-up rage. Yihee grinned seeing her wake up, forcing her to summon her true inner beast if she wanted to win this fight. Yihee did the same and charged his opponent, who conjured a massive tornado to show off her true strength, devastating roar she called atomic breath. But Yihee blocked the hit and started charging his own dorsal plates. And here is the moment we have been waiting for. Leaving the judging panel extremely worried about the collision, Maya stepped in again, raising walls to absorb the energy. Suddenly the barrier cracked, and the audience gasped, realizing they would have been severely injured without that shield. The mayor had to admit he did not expect to find such incredibly powerful competitors in this year's tournament. The clash, Liu Qingju stood exhausted and beaten, while Yihee loomed over her completely untouched, admitted she did not want to fight him anymore. Yihee leaned down and told her he did not believe her at all. Liu hesitated, but deep down in her heart she desperately wanted to defeat him. And Yihee placed a hand on her shoulder and released an energy wave, absorbing all the radiation coating her body. He admitted she was the strongest opponent he had ever faced, hoping she would push even harder during their next match. With that, our main character was declared winner of the first semi-final. The final match was set between Yihee and Chuzhou from the same academy. In the match, Chuzhou drew a sword of pure energy, while Yihee just smiled, calmly inviting him to attack. Chuzhou rushed in aggressively, but his opponent did not lift a single finger to defend himself. Instead, Yihee unleashed a devastating atomic punch that instantly vaporized all of the projected clones. No options, Chuzhou used his ice technique to drain Yihee, freezing the entire arena with a massive iceberg. And that is where we leave it. Can you believe how easily Yihee melted that ice, leaving Chuzhou utterly furious? Get ready, because we are about to see him unleash his deadliest move. Yet the clash only leaves a tiny scratch on Yihee. Meanwhile, Chuzhou's sword gets completely shattered. Knowing he is totally outmatched, the rival gives up right then and there. The entire crowd goes wild, cheering for their champion. Yihee's face is plastered everywhere, crowning him as the exam's strongest fighter. In the center, the host congratulates our main character, immediately thanks his master for believing in him, deeply touching the old man watching the broadcast from home. Up in the stands, the principal desperately begs to get a shout-out too. 1 million scholarship, Yihee gives the school some legendary free publicity. Finally, He grabs the mic to thank himself, declaring that if you do not love yourself, nobody else will. Suddenly, the system alerts him of a massive reward for achieving his goal of becoming the #1 fighter. After the ceremony, Yihei tries to dodge reporters who are already cooking up fake dating rumors with his classmates. He finally sneaks into an empty gym, a quiet spot to check out his new skills in peace. But his peace is cut short by a mysterious detective-looking guy who congratulates him on the big win. The man claims he is from Huadu Academy and wants to discuss a genetic anomaly. It intrigues Yihei, though he knows his power comes from Demora. Agent then asks if he knows anything about his father's genetics while pulling a mysterious envelope from his briefcase. And trust me, we are about to uncover a secret that changes everything about his supposedly ordinary father. Yihei learns about the genetic Project Prometheus and how after a tragic accident, the scientists had to hide their identities to survive. He realizes his father was one of those researchers, meaning he himself might just be a laboratory experiment. Agent assures him everything is under control, and even if Yihei does not care, the Academy wants to protect him. Once the agent leaves, Yihei chooses to focus on plotting out his bright and promising future instead. Opening his system to inspect the new skill model, he is completely stunned as a strange vortex appears. Sinister rank D giant humanoid monster emerges. Seeing this, Yihei gets the wild idea to fuse his summons into one ultimate king. Meanwhile, somewhere else, a serious-looking guy talks on the phone, telling his contact to cancel all his appointments. Absolute priority now is finding out what happened to his brother, who vanished inside a rift, leaving him feeling incredibly guilty for failing to protect him like he promised their mother. Now watch closely, because catching Yihei on television instantly changes his entire search, locking his focus onto this new prodigy. Back with Yihei, he gets a letter from Chujo inviting him to clear a rank C rift. Annoyed, he wonders why he did not just text him. Over at Red Tree Mountain, several hunters are already watching as this new portal begins to tear open. There, Yihei runs into Chujo, who notices the boy seems way stronger, having no clue about the massive power upgrade he just got. Yihei realizes they are heading to the same academy and concludes that Chujo is a pretty weird guy. Their chat gets cut short when the rift opens and a monster pops out to greet them. One warrior orders an attack. The beast tries to retreat but gets instantly vaporized. In the portal, the hunters enter the dungeon, where Yihei instantly detects a strong scent of blood. Monsters suddenly swarm them from all sides, and the fighters throw themselves headfirst into a brutal, chaotic battle, showing off the incredible skills they honed at school. Chujo swings his sword. Yihei saves him from a surprise backstab. Chujo is completely shocked watching his teammate effortlessly tear through monster after monster. Soon, a signal flares to show the boss beast has fallen. While Chujo checks their casualties, Yihei arrives carrying a mountain of monster cores. In this, Chujo lends him his spatial storage ring. Just then, they see other hunters approaching, including a giant warrior who had backed them up during the fight. Curious about Yihei, the giant introduces himself as Woon, offering him a prestigious rank S contract to join his guild, the Silver Wolf. This offer sparks instant envy since they are incredibly famous. The next woman riding a tiger from the Chungda group steps up, offering him 15% of their monthly profits. The other fighters are stunned, whispering about how insanely generous that deal is. But Yihei rejects both, stating he has zero interest in teamwork. The leaders accept his decision, willing to wait for another shot. And that is where we leave them, trust me. Things are getting wild. Get ready, because you and I are about to watch our heroes spot giants picking roses, where there aren't even any bushes. He wanted to grow strong enough to fight them, while Chujo desperately prayed they would never cross paths with those beasts. Then, Yihei sensed signs of life somewhere else in this strange world, and pointed toward a lake for them to investigate. The moment they arrived, Yihei instantly recognized Yuli, who was out hunting with a squad of her own. She explained that 2 of her teammates were deep-sea diving. Soon, one surfaced super hyped, announcing he found a rare relic. Wondered what the big deal was, and Chujo explained, this zone was packed with ancient ruins holding incredibly valuable treasures. The diver who found the loot instantly wanted to silence the witnesses, but Yuli stopped him, arguing they were there to help. This guy named Yu Yang got incredibly annoyed at the mere thought of splitting their hard-earned rewards. To settle the dispute, Yi suggested their cut should depend entirely on their actual performance. With the deal officially sealed, the party set off together to explore those deep underwater ruins. Submerged, a highly suspicious Yu Yang noticed their other teammate wasn't waiting at the spot they had previously agreed on. He tried calling him over the comms, but got dead silence, making the entire squad seriously hesitate about going any further. And so Yu Yang refused to leave the relics behind, forcing them to press onward and venture deeper into the cave. Pay close attention here, because Chuzhou spots some strange footprints and whispers a warning that this smells like a deadly trap. But Yi was too curious to back down, stumbling into a chamber filled with monster cores trapped in creepy parasitic plants. Suddenly they spotted the missing diver Liwi, completely tangled up and being slowly eaten alive by those sinister vines. Yuli froze in absolute horror at the sight, while Yu Yang panicked, desperately looking for his precious relics. Suddenly, Yu Yang started mutating, creepy roots bursting right out of his head, just before a blinding flash sliced through the darkness. It was Yi who reacted with lightning speed, instantly obliterating the creature controlling Yu Yang. He was shocked by how smart the beast was, using bait to lure in prey, and worse, their escape route was totally blocked. While Yuli was shivering in pure terror, Yi was actually getting hyped to completely crush this enemy. Right then, a high-level warrior erupted from the stone walls, bent on killing them. Though honestly, Yi was completely used to being targeted by now. The warrior cornering them explained he had tracked Yi's movements using the trace radiation left behind in the Red Tree Mountains. He revealed he was the one who blocked their escape, seeking absolute vengeance for the death of his beloved brother, Hopang. He wasn't impressed at all, simply thinking this guy talked way too much. And here is where we get to see his power, because the moment he attacks, Yi's demonic branches start draining his energy. In response, the rival unleashed his full power, causing the entire cavern to collapse as Yuli watched in absolute panic. But Yi used his raw physical strength to hold up the falling boulders, screaming at Yuli and her squad to get out immediately. The enemy seized this moment of distraction to strike with everything he had, but was suddenly cut off by a blade-shaped lightning bolt. He had just arrived and brandished his own blade to help Yi out. With the boss dazed, Yi seized the chance to unleash his atomic blast, warning Chuzhou to fall back from such a dangerous opponent. Outside, the other fighters watched the lake violently churn until Chuzhou surfaced completely alone, leaving Yuli terrified of what happened to Yi. Seconds later, a colossal humanoid monster erupted from the depths, completely vaporizing the enemy with devastating nuclear energy. As the smoke cleared, Yi returned to his normal form, asking for some clothes so he wouldn't scare everyone. He then explained the enemy used a plasma bomb, which Chuzhou noted is highly illegal weaponry. The kid also swore on his life he saw a giant, but Yi insisted it was all just playing tricks on his mind, telling him to drop it to keep his second monster form a secret. Thanking Yi for his help, while he decided to push forward with his journey to hunt more monsters. Later, the duo headed to the gates of the Red Tree Mountains, totally shocked to find that the place was a bustling trade town. Stepping up to the trade counter, Yi nearly broke it with his ridiculously heavy bag of items, and pulling out item after item stored inside Chuzhou's pocket dimension subspace ring, Clerk almost fell off her chair at the sheer mountain of resources, as Yi urged her to price it fast so he could buy loads of medicine. Even the experts at the Core Appraisal Center were completely blown away by the incredible rarity of his materials. He didn't mind selling them since those basic white and green magic cores had zero effect on him anyway, the most important ones, walking away filthy rich, leaving you and I incredibly hyped to see what his next big move will be. Come along with me to see how our boy's peaceful day shatters when a car screeches to a halt right before him. A man named Yushin, owner of Ping Pharmacy, steps out wanting to buy all of his power cores, leaving the young man completely baffled by how fast his reputation has spread. In the end, he pocketed a nice chunk of extra cash from that sale, but that wasn't nearly enough to reach his goals, especially with his companion beast having such a demanding appetite. So he came up with a solid plan to fix this, choosing to focus entirely on mastering new martial skills. Geha then paid a visit to the school director, who welcomed him with high praise and absolute formality. Being highly respectful, the young man gifted the elder some medicinal wine, which absolutely thrilled him, paving the way for Yi to ask for a favor. He asked the director to recommend a true martial arts master who could guide him to become much stronger. The elder instantly agreed to help the eager young man. The next day, right after stepping out of a hot bath, Yehi received shocking news the elite Liu family offered to train him personally. Meanwhile, a motorcycle was speeding through the city. The blonde girl on the back was totally amazed by the skills of the driver, a guy named Jai. Suddenly, Yiha pulls right up next to them on his humble bicycle to warn them about their dangerous speed. Jai is completely stunned by where this guy even came from. To show off, he hits the gas to leave Yiha in the dust. Now watch closely, because Yihi activates one of his skills and channels raw energy into his bike, effortlessly passing their souped-up motorcycle, while Jai and his friend watch in jaw-dropping shock as he vanishes. Reaching the Liu mansion, Yiha immediately senses the oppressive presence of incredibly powerful beings inside. Just as he enters the house, a shy girl named Chingu greets him to lead him to the grand hall. There, Liu's mother, Qinlan, awaited, welcoming him with overwhelming authority. Completely mesmerized, quietly recalling an old saying from Minister Caocha about this woman's legendary beauty. Being defeated in combat, Liu tries to justify her loss against her mother Qinlan's incredible strength. However, her mother understands the exact reason for her failure after reviewing the recording of the fight. Still, she reminds her that with such a weak younger brother, she is the only one who can carry the family legacy. Qinlan then pressures her daughter to use her charms, find a wealthy suitor, and marry to secure their inheritance. The suitor is Yihi. On the visit day, Yihi brings a gift to win over his hostess. Cutting straight to the point, Qinlan tells him her daughter will personally train him. Bet you'd also think an offer like this is simply too good to be true. The mother explains that there are 3 supreme martial arts, and mastering them relies entirely on his own effort. Yihi gratefully accepts, winning Qinlan's favor by showing deep respect and a strong commitment to her noble family. The brief look they exchange makes it very clear that a subtle spark of attraction has ignited. On the way to his first training session, Yihi directly asks Chingu why she keeps avoiding him, but she denies it. He steps closer to see if she is lying, but she backs away, overwhelmed by how tempting it is to be near him. Stopping before the mystical portal connecting to secret realms, Yihi feels a wild urge to punch it out of pure curiosity. Ting lets him try, though she finds it bizarre. Without a second thought, Yihi gears up to strike the massive stone structure. The sight reminds Chingu of her previous battle. Doesn't even leave a single scratch, prompting a playful chuckle from the young girl. Chingu guides him inside the pavilion, explaining that each combat technique requires a highly specific form of identification. Though he demands to learn the supreme martial arts immediately, she believes it is far better to master the basics first. Facing his stubborn persistence, Chingu opens a heavy black stone door where these highly sacred techniques are guarded. She explains that her clan has protected this legacy for generations as they gaze at ancient chests containing the manuscripts. Chingu reveals that to truly master this art, one must feel their inner energy as if it were a living thing. But Yihi barely pays attention, completely desperate to start learning every single technique right this second. With that, Chingu opens the first chest, leaving Yihi stunned to find a mystical statue instead of an ancient scroll. And there, Yihi begins to grasp the essence of feeling that legendary martial mark. Chingu explains that the great ancestral secret lies in channeling this mystic imprint into any physical object, then challenges him to absorb it, promising that if he is destined to succeed, the technique will reveal itself. Not knowing what to do, Yihi lies down before it. Do not want to miss what happens next. Get ready, because you and I are about to see the system grant our main character a spiritual body out of nowhere. Suddenly, a spirit appears, demanding a real man for his techniques. The main character freezes when he realizes the spirit looks identical to the stone statue. The spirit proposes a simple deal. Bodhisattva from evil entities, he can learn one of his legendary skills. Yehi instantly realizes this sudden rain is far from normal. It is the sign that his trial has finally begun. Without hesitation, he draws his sword against the demons, preparing to strike the spirits as they rush him from all sides. Meanwhile, the spiritual entity watches the fight, assuming the kid is just another fool who will get crushed in seconds. However, his jaw drops as he notices the evil specters cannot even touch the boy. Our hero realizes the system is protecting him in this spiritual realm, absolutely loving having a practically invincible body. The statue's spirit cannot understand how the boy withstands the martial mark, but Yehi simply replies that he is a very dedicated student. Ancestor decides to keep his word, granting him a hidden ability sealed at the very bottom of a well. Just as he begins explaining the evil incarnate technique, watch closely here. Yehi jumps into the well without listening, leaving the spirit stunned by his boldness, but realizing this kid is different. Entity remembers that when he was a hero, lived on the edge, using that same technique to destroy terrifying rank S monsters. Abusing that power drove him mad, costing many innocent lives. That is why he chose death, sealing his martial mark inside the stone statue. Still, the malevolent souls hunted him down, and only by defeating them could one inherit the evil incarnate technique. Meanwhile, in the control room, a mother and daughter watch Yehi closely. Hingju is left speechless, seeing the physical body of the boy already showing signs of conquering the first major trial. Feels off. The boy, who was smiling confidently moments ago, now seems to be in absolute agony. Finlan explains that during his final days of life, the girl's grandfather tried to absorb the statue's power, but ended up gravely injured after failing miserably. Suddenly, she is shocked to see the boy wake up perfectly calm. Qingzu is overjoyed to find him safe and sound. Yehi feels incredibly grateful to the statue for trusting him with the massive task of uncovering the truth about secret realms. And I would absolutely cheat for a skill like Evil Incarnate, which literally doubles your power. Mother and daughter enter the chamber immediately, with Qinlan highly intrigued by the insane speed at which he cleared the feat. To answer her, Yehi decides to show off his new skill, leaving Qingshu completely stunned by the massive aura radiating from him. His proud mother is literally on the verge of tears. Xingu asks if he wants to learn more techniques, but her mother disapproves of giving away family treasures so easily. Noticing the woman's tense expression, Yehi decides to stop there. Yunlan offers him one of their luxury family cars, but he thinks a motorcycle sounds like way more fun. Meanwhile, Yai walks through the mansion, highly excited to meet the powerful warrior who will be helping his family, hoping he never bumps into that bicycle guy again. But his stroll is cut short when Yehi speeds past on a motorcycle, nearly spinning him around. Yai completely freezes up upon recognizing the guy riding one of his own family's motorcycles. Back home, Yehi eats cores with sauce to massively boost all of his stats in one go. He decides to upgrade his summon to make it giant, but swallowing demon plant cores unlocks a secret genetic mutation for Demora. Yehi stops to think, debating whether or not to trigger the mutation, but decides to risk it for an epic result. Genetic mod begins, promising that hitting 100% on the wild trait will transform it into the star of the universe. Yehi celebrates his monster's evolution until a bizarre glowing light outside his window completely ruins his good mood. The military has locked down the streets entirely, putting him on high alert for a potential raid on his own apartment. Down, knowing the body's previous owner never had visitors, but suddenly spots a strange woman standing at his window. The intruder looks pretty annoyed about failing her grand entrance. Losing all patience for games, Yehi points his finger right at her. Police surround their target, but this guy has absolutely zero intention of giving up the priceless gold gene, heroically to cover his partner Yao's escape. But she crashes down right beside him like a comet. And that's where we leave it. What an insane cliffhanger. Alright, get ready because you and I are about to watch this woman report mission complete and vanish down the sewers. Just as they think they are safe, Yehi corners them, demanding to know who invited them into his home. Edgewise was absolutely furious they got caught like this. He quickly reads their auras and, eager to test his new skill, strikes, not even defend himself, leaving the armored woman in complete shock at his overwhelming power. Seeing his ally fall, the partner morphs into a massive rhino, charging ahead with brute force to crush him. He was just starting to have some fun when the woman tried to sneak attack him from behind. He easily swats her away with a devastating blow, telling her to get the hell out. Furious that his partner failed, AoE attacks with blind rage. When Yihi counters, he is shocked to find the monster's defense has suddenly shot through the roof. Rhino Monster was already rearing to finish him off, completely vanishes from sight, reappearing as an imposing beast that brutally dominates the rhino. Watching this unfold makes Yame regret everything, but she still refuses to back down. Wielding a molecular wire, she wraps it around his neck and manages to slice his head clean off. In relief, thinking she won, but the last thing she sees is a blinding light emerges from the smoke to find AoE severely wounded, stepping forward to finish him off once and for all. Before dying, he reveals they hid the golden gene in Yihi's house to make him a permanent target. Hearing this, Yihi finishes him off and tries to clean up the crime scene before the cops arrive, but the damage is just too massive. Sitting back, Yihi feels a wave of relief when he learns his Aunt Chin already settled everything with the police, then shifts his focus to understanding what this golden gene actually is. Later, he recognizes the Prometheus file symbol he received from his contact in Huadu. He immediately figures out that the couple stole this high-tech item from the Laser Bird company. Home ruined, Yihi moves to a hotel, making sure he leaves absolutely zero incriminating clues. Over in the Swan Lake secret realm, patrolling warriors spot a massive monster horde led by the terrifying blood-eyed Supreme Beast. Soldiers try to fall back and alert the authorities, but the beast has no intention of letting them escape. Lets out an earth-shattering roar that sends boulders flying, crushing the men before they can even finish their SOS call. Next, the beast commands its entire monster horde straight toward the rift. Now I know what you are thinking. The situation looks completely hopeless, and the military is already scrambling to contain the chaos. Meanwhile, every available warrior is summoned as the panicked mayor desperately prays that Huadu sends a master to rescue them. The neighboring city's guild is busy fighting off S-rank monster attacks of their own. This means the local leaders can only rely on their own forces to survive. Yihi was training with Chuzhou when the alarm sounded, and both immediately set off to join the front lines. Meanwhile, Luing's mother forbids her from fighting, caring only about their family legacy. Frustrated and furious, the girl storms out of the room. Jinlan immediately orders her housekeeper to prepare the family's evacuation to another city. Also sends a message to Yihi, thinking this crisis is the perfect opportunity to test the young man's true loyalty. On that fateful day, even the veteran warriors gather at the secret realm to defend their city. With incredible courage and strength, they lead the younger recruits to face the oncoming horde. The military takes up strategic positions at the rift's entrance. The mayor silently prays that his men make it back alive. The tide turns when a badly wounded warrior returns, carrying a memory drive with crucial intel on the battle. He warns everyone to be careful, but out of nowhere, a massive boulder flies through the portal and smashes into a building. It collapses. The heavy debris triggers the government's explosive landmines, setting off a massive, devastating chain explosion. Right after, the mayor orders his men to open fire, absolutely stunned to see the beasts using actual military tactics. Another rain of rocks, a bloody war erupts inside and outside the rift. Suddenly, monsters begin pouring out in massive numbers, and the frontline soldiers prove completely useless in close combat. In this, the beast leader smiles, knowing the humans will not hold out much longer. A massive troll stomps through the portal, shrugging off a hail of bullets as it begins crushing the soldiers with devastating attacks. Right at that moment, Yihi joins the battle. You and I know things are about to get wild. You and I are about to watch this kid unleash absolute fury to protect his adopted city. His classmates were already in the thick of battle, giving it their all. Chuzhou felt incredibly proud seeing generations fighting side by side, until a literal tank was thrown right at him. But he slices the vehicle in half easily. Young Shaoling is completely stunned by the troll's massive club attack, but thankfully, Yehi arrives just in time to block the blow. The newcomer lands right on the monster's face and strikes, totally grossed out by its unbearable breath. Seeing this, Lu Xin initially thought the monsters were just fighting each other, but Chuzhou quickly corrects her, explaining that this young kid is actually the city's most promising fighter and greatest hope. Yehei orders his friends to guard this sector. Now, watch carefully as he heads straight toward the most dangerous war zone. Meanwhile, on another front, since rifles are useless, the soldiers charge with bayonets, but a giant mammoth's tusk stops them cold. One soldier begs to retreat, but the captain orders a charge, bravely bringing down a monster with his sword, and watches Yehi's terrifying spirit technique materialize, greedily devouring the monsters as he strikes with the unstoppable power of Demora. Across the other battlefields, the warriors notice the monsters are trying to completely surround Yehi, so they rush to support him, knowing he is the only one who can save the city of An, wrecking the beasts, while the mayor defends himself behind earth walls. Knowing this war only ends when they take out the enemy leader, a monster suddenly breaches his defense, but he swats it down with absolute ease. Look out, a colossal beast is crossing the portal. The mayor identifies it as a Hyle crocodile, realizing the enemy's supreme leader is finally arriving. He unleashes his full power against it, but earth spikes still shatter blocks of the city. The mayor knows this species inside out. Noticing the creature is still halfway inside the portal, he decides to launch another quick strike. The beast is incredibly tough and quickly adapts to his attack. Suddenly, bloodthirsty eyes lock onto the mayor as an ape hiding among the spikes grabs him. Determined to wipe out all of humanity, the beast slams the mayor into the ground. For the finishing blow, an explosion rocks the monster's hand. The mayor won't go down easy and had fired a special attack directly at his rival. Bet you didn't see this coming. That giant ape didn't even flinch. He orders the mayor to kneel, but is shocked to see the man shows absolutely no fear. So the mayor pulls another trick from his sleeve, trapping the monster lord with rings of light. Furious at being trapped, the ape refuses to yield. Then as the rings drain his energy, he swears he will slaughter everyone the second the mayor weakens. In response, the man reveals a star-shaped scar on his chest and tears out his own heart, which holds a self-destruct device. The ape thinks he's just bluffing, but Wang Qing had sworn to protect this city at all costs when elected. In his promise, he detonates himself, creating a massive fire mushroom cloud right in the middle of the battlefield. Both the soldiers and the warriors present instantly recognize the mayor's ultimate sacrifice. Everyone watches the explosion as if attending the funeral of the greatest hero the city of An has ever known. Vaporized the monster, but his remaining pieces are already starting to regenerate to finish them off. And over for Yehei. Our hero charges up a nuclear strike with his giant mecha, completely smashing the enemy. Then Yehi's Demora strikes again, blasting the rival far away. Despite taking heavy damage, the creature still has the strength to charge, even in pieces, managing to damage the Demora's fist. Realizing it has no chance, the monster tries to escape. And to avenge the mayor, Yehi refuses to let it escape and unleashes his radiant pulse, destroying the creature once and for all. Yet Yehi senses the ape is still alive, hiding somewhere out there. A wave of guilt washes over him for not arriving in time to save Mayor Hong Qing. Spotting the creature's trail on the ground, he fires a nuclear energy blast. The giant ape somehow gathers enough strength to conjure a fireball, charging with everything he has left. And trust me, with that final strike, the monster was blown to pieces. Stick with me, a sudden surprise attack completely dazes him. Mysterious hands sprout to drag the monster away, and shockingly, they burst from his own joints too. It is an enemy technique. Yehi cranks his body heat to over 1,000 degrees, instantly vaporizing the hands trapping him. Meanwhile, as the ape's body nears the rift, a creepy head emerges to shield those hands from Yehi's insane power. Witnessing this, Yehi just stares in silence, wondering if that creepy thing is the ape lord's true form. Roar confused him, but there is no mercy after the city was completely ruined. In his full might, he unleashes a devastating laser. Everyone watches in awe as both the monsters and the rift vanish completely. Medics treat the wounded. Chojo knows that with such devastating losses, this is barely a victory. Right inside the crater where the rift once stood, Yehi catches his breath, realizing his summoned beast is still no match for a high-tier lord like that giant ape. Now pay attention. To unlock godlike power, he decides to collect every single core and fuse more monsters. 1 month after the tragic massacre, they build a statue honoring the mayor in the main plaza. News reports broadcast attacks nationwide, including the tragic death of Fuang, the ultimate martial artist. Deeply concerned, Yi decides to ask his Aunt Qinlan for help. The woman, relaxing peacefully, immediately assumes he only wants access to their family's top secret training manuals. But the young man clarifies that he only needs her help sourcing rare plant cores. Since those Lord tier cores cost a total fortune, Qinlan demands a trade. Yi promises to help Liu Qinggu lead Huadu Academy. Still, Qinlan decides to test him, totally underestimating his true strength. Knowing his immense value, Yi vows to serve the Liu family forever if he fails to deliver. Stunned by that offer, his aunt gets so hyped she literally kicks up her feet and accepts, visits the hospital to see the wounded warriors, only to get mobbed by a crowd rushing him. Finding Chuzhou, he jokes with his buddy, who is wrapped in so many bandages he looks like a mummy. Luosan is sharing the same room, but Yi has zero memory of fighting this guy in the tournament. I know what you are thinking. Luosan lost a leg but showed insane courage. And suddenly his phone rings. The call from Wang Dao, the guy running the academy's admissions department. For this, the director was absolutely furious because Yi blocked a very important contact from Huadu. Answering the call, Wang Tao tells Yi that a train will pick him up in 2 days. Chuzhou gets the same call, leaving poor Luosan deeply frustrated about missing out on this elite academy. Over the next few days, Yi keeps visiting the battle zone to push his training further. The explosion left a heavy smog, and training in this trash increases his compatibility with the environment. Training gets cut short because moving day is finally here. Station, Chuzhou is waiting when Yi arrives. His insanely powerful presence immediately causes a massive scene among the crowd. Buddy immediately senses that he grew way stronger. He departs, leaving the city of An behind. Picking up the passengers, Yi calculates their combat power and figures only about 5 can actually fight him. Nowhere, the academy train is hit by a mysterious attack. As violent explosions shake the cabins, the freshmen lose their minds. Unsure if it is a test or a real threat, Ye heads out to investigate. A up freshman named Zhou Jingxian appears, warning everyone that the front cars are under siege. But another student, Yan Zhengxian, demands hard proof before believing him. A bunch of foolish rookies agree with him and decide to follow him straight to the front of the train. The bleeding kid recognizes Yi, begging him not to go any further under orders from Liu Qinggu herself. Ye is totally stunned to hear this. Rookie explains that she protected everyone with her own life, and because of that, he will do absolutely anything to honor her last wish before she passes away. Furious at this absolute garbage, Yehi punches the kid and screams at him to shut his mouth right now. Determined to move, Yehi marches toward the front cabin, but Zhou Jingxian steps in to block him. Zhou throws his sword, and though the rookie blocks, Yehi absolutely crushes him with a brutal knee strike. Will they survive? You and I will find out. Alright. Follow me as we watch this duo push through the train cars straight into a portal. Through the area, Yi tosses a briefcase directly into the glowing rift. Not sensing any life on the other side felt strange, but he stepped through without hesitation. The moment he crosses, he realizes Chuzhou is completely gone from his side. Spotting a weird trail of light, he follows it, leading him straight into a completely silent, ruined city. Leaps onto a rooftop, unleashing a massive burst of power to find whoever is behind this. The insane wave of energy immediately alerts some hidden students nearby. Among them, a wounded Liu Qinggu realizes it was Yihei who just crossed the portal. His bait worked. Before long, a creepy guy wearing a pig mask sneaks up right behind him. Spotting the mask, Yihei goes in for a brutal face smash, but the enemy takes it without flinching. Instead, he drives a machete right through Yihei's gut. But shocker, the guy's regeneration speed is absolutely insane. Taking advantage of that hesitation, watch this. Rips the mask open and blasts him with pure, intense nuclear energy he cannot survive. Winning the fight, he finds a pendant inside the mask, confirming the Huadu trial. Suddenly, the machete in his stomach dissolves. Nowhere, an arrow flies right at him, but Yi shatters it with a single glare, and another foe appears, landing direct hits with magic arrows, but that won't stop him. He unleashes a terrifying, monstrous armor. The release of that overwhelming power is so violent, it completely collapses the entire building around him. From afar, the new students stare at the massive dust cloud. Sifting through the rubble, Yi spots his attacker in a rabbit mask, figuring out this is a zodiac trial. Despite those red eyes and cute look, this fighter is far from friendly. immediately charging in to attack. He shows off some high-level kung fu that actually surprises Yi, but right before the spear impales his face, a sudden ice wall blocks the blow. Rabbit gets cornered the second Chuzhou steps onto the battlefield, fully prepared to end him, quickly dodges, thrusting his spear straight at the swordsman instead. Done playing games, Chu summons his beast, leaving the rabbit absolutely frozen in pure terror. Just moments ago, the other students were losing hope, knowing top-tier rookies were out hunting these masked fighters. But check this out, Yi's massive explosion changes everything. One guy, nicknamed Lionmane, wonders who unleashed such power, though for the rookie Wang Zi it was obvious that blast didn't belong to the enemy. Rewinding a bit, the rookies were counting the pendants they managed to collect so far, guessing the senior students probably had some too. Since stealing from the dragon boss is too tough, Wang suggests to Yan Jiangxian they just rob other students instead. Back to the present, Yi explains the zodiac pendants to Chuzhou, realizing they need to hunt more masked enemies. He nods, pointing out that since one shot an arrow at him, tracking them down would be incredibly easy. Following the trail, they find signs of a recent fight, when suddenly Yi senses someone hiding very close by. With lightning reflexes, Chuzhou summons sharp ice spikes, forcing a stealthy girl out of her hiding spot. Without wasting a single second, Chuzhou attacks the exposed girl. But before Lan Yusi gets hit, a guy blocks with a flame shield. Meet Shinshen, a master of combining fire and smoke. Yi asks why they are setting up an ambush, but they claim they are just hunting the masked foes. Not buying that excuse. The lightning-fast grab, he catches another camouflaged girl hiding nearby. Demanding real answers, he leaves Lan Yusi shocked that her clone trick got busted, forcing Shin to show his own skills. He puffs his cheeks way up and blows out a super thick, blinding screen of smoke, using the massive distraction for Lan to strike with her fan while Shin boosts the flames, showing off their perfect teamwork. But Yi is not impressed. With a single powerful clap, he blows away all the smoke, completely shocking the fire user. Then Chuzhou charges forward, landing a brutal right hook to show Shin what a real punch feels like. In the end, the girl is paralyzed as Chuzhou freezes her legs. You and I are going to want to see what happens next. Alright, let's watch together as she desperately smashes through the ice, using her own raw strength to escape. However, her attempt was completely useless since Yehi quickly caught up and slammed her hard against the ground. As she crashed down, the girl prepped a surprise attack, creating multiple clones of herself to fight back. Seeing this, Ye instantly unleashed his inner demons, completely freezing every single copy of the terrified freshman girl. The young girl surrendered and handed over her pendants. She quickly explained the rules, warning him that the Lion Man and his partner already held almost everything, then confessed her mission was to lead Yehu to that cheating duo, while Yihei praised Lan Yusi's incredible courage. Meanwhile, the cheaters kept hunting until Yan suddenly stumbled upon a brutal sight, a mutilated body lying in the street. They quickly recognized Xin Chen, the fire wielder, who had just been desperately trying to flee from the powerful Yihi. Looking back, he ran directly into a sinister figure, slowly walking towards him. He froze in pure terror, identifying those bizarre eyes as belonging to the terrifying dragon. Without hesitation, the monster slashed him with a sword and stole his pendants, leaving Wu Yang and Yan certain of his demise. Wu Yang found this highly suspicious since the enemy was supposedly trapped underground, yet he had apparently wiped everyone out. Now watch closely here. Both of them are absolutely furious seeing this challenge turn into a brutal massacre. With everyone else eliminated, that monstrous opponent was now completely free to hunt down the remaining pendants. Determined to collect the artifacts before that beast, Wang chose to unleash the hidden power of his ancient bloodline, transformed into a winged beast to generate a massive surge of energy that would draw all remaining carriers. Meanwhile, Liu Qinggu felt totally hopeless. All she wanted was to enter the top university to make her family proud, wondering about Yihi, but trusting him to defeat the dragon. Suddenly, a strange sound startled her, sparking sheer panic, because she was in no condition to run or fight back. In that tense moment, she resolved to give Yihi the pendant she had seized from the ox beast. High above, Wang scanned the area, tracking the girl as he soared over the entire city. Spotting her movement, he dived down like a hungry predator, smashing violently, through the concrete of the building right to the bottom. Instead, he heard a voice that did not belong to Lu Chingu. Staring right at him was a menacing dragon, and Yu realized the beast had hunted him for his 4 precious pendants. The creature opened its glowing eyes. The boy instantly recognized the legendary dragon sealing technique, knowing his only choice was to win. Barely had time to block as the beast charged furiously with its blade. I know what you're thinking, but over here the lion warrior Yan faces the heroes as Chuzhou steps up to fight alone. Yan lunged with wild fury while Chuzhou prepared a freezing counter, locking both of them in a perfectly balanced duel, unleashing their lineage beasts, while Yi He quietly watched from a safe distance with an incredibly bored expression. The clash raged on until Yan caught a distress signal from Wang, making him lose focus and nearly get slashed by Chuzhou. That was the exact moment he decided to halt the fight to save his best friend. But Yiho refused to let him run, delivering a massive blow that sent the giant flying 5 meters away, making Yan attack with pure fury. Yet only a couple of minutes later, he was already collapsed on the floor, completely knocked out. Taking a liking to Yan's sword, Yi He decided to borrow it, making a few quick adjustments to the blade for his own style. Searching Yan's dimensional ring, Chuzhou failed to find the masked group's pendants, but he did discover something very interesting. It was a totally unique kind of pendant emitting a bizarre pulsing energy signal. He was completely exhausted, confident he had given everything to land his ultimate technique on the dragon, and sacrificing his arm left him short of his target. Powerless to fight back any further, he accepted his defeat against Shenlong as the creature's cold blade pierced through his chest. Lu kept struggling desperately to reach the rooftop, fully aware that she would be Shenlong's next target. Her very last hope was that Yi He would somehow arrive in time to save her life. Energy of her phantom bird lineage, but collapsed to the floor, too exhausted to move. Watching the dragon draw near, her final thought was to send out one last signal, hoping to warn and protect Yi He. The monster's lethal eyes flashed once more, triggering a massive blast as Lu could only watch the oncoming blade slice closer. And just like that, Yiho finally arrives. Trust me, you're going to love what happens next. You and I are starting with this brutal impact that literally shook the entire building, ordered Liu to run east for backup. Dragon faced the newcomer, who quickly spotted that the metal spike was still deeply driven into its chest. A battle to the death instantly ignited, and Yi He was absolutely thrilled to face an opponent of this caliber. The beast went completely berserk, catching Yi He off guard. Counter, he released atomic energy and equipped his Demora armor. The blast shattered a piece of the dragon's mask, but Yi He realized the beast's raw power was actually rising. Suddenly, the creature roared in fury and landed a sneaky, devastating blow right to his back, caught the blade with his bare teeth, clenched his fist, and delivered a massive uppercut to the beast. Yehi capitalized on the perfect window, striking each of the monster's vital points, which was already weakened by Wang's spike. Dropping its weapon, the dragon was ready to collapse. Right then, Yi He unleashed his final strike, summoning a massive tornado using the fan he borrowed from Lan Yusi. Don't blink right here, because his real plan was to obliterate the dragon's face for absolute humiliation. With all his might, he unleashed a barrage of punches, slamming the helpless enemy straight into the wall. And so, the stubborn dragon roared that he would kill him. Hearing this, Yehe finished off the beast and claimed the dragon pendant as his own. While Yan processed the deep pain of losing his close friend, Yehe and the others respected his silence. The main character took the ox pendant Lu, got and arranged the artifacts by the zodiac. Confused when absolutely nothing happened, Yan explained the dragon pendant was not for that, but rather to eliminate the other wielders. Armed with this info, Ye removed the piece, and the magical power was finally unleashed. A massive smoke portal tore open the sky, revealing a giant yellow eye that instantly sucked him inside. Suddenly, all the students woke up on the Wadu train, completely unable to believe they were still alive. Voice announced the entire thing was just a test, awarding first place to the trio who gathered all 12 pendants, but the grand admission prize was awarded to Yiha for his insane performance, sparking a massive uproar among the students. The reward, Yihi won a level 13 vampire summon. While he admired his new prize, Uang approached him alongside Yan. You know what you are thinking. Did he actually defeat that terrifying dragon? Confirmed he did not just win, he destroyed the monster. Wang then shared his plan to start a club with Yiha as president. He explained his goal was to shatter the old tradition of Huadu always having the top rookies and club leaders. Hearing this filled the other students on board with massive excitement and newfound confidence. Despite all the hype, he remained dead set on going solo. Still, Wang handed him a card to keep the door open for a future alliance. When the train finally arrived in Huadu, the sheer scale of the city completely blew Yihi away. A guide led the students through a private passage to a colossal transport ship that left them totally speechless. Once they boarded, Yeha approached Lu to tease her a bit, but she reminded him her mother warned against getting too close, even if they were technically engaged, then warned him to behave himself or he might just end up losing a finger. Yehe only wanted to know why they needed a ship. So Lu explained the academy literally floats in the sky, soaring toward the clouds. On the way, the ship crossed an electromagnetic barrier designed specifically to keep vicious demon beasts far away. Embarking, they took the students down to their brand new dorms using some kind of high-tech elevator. Yiha was amazed by the massive size of his room and excitedly explored every single luxurious corner. Soon after, he ordered upgrade resources for his vampire on his phone. Drone delivered the cores, and swallowing them triggered changes in his own body. He realized his fangs had grown, and seeing his claws get larger, he punched himself to test his newly reinforced body. Seeing that his healing was almost instantaneous, he entered the training area and surged his energy, and the vampire before him, ordering it to attack with everything it had. It manifested in a form surrounded by dark roses and threw a devastating first punch. Yiha tried to block the strike, but the brutal power shattered his hands. And I need to see what happens next. Let's dive into how this guy triggers his 5-second time power without caring about the deadly consequences. Gravity crushed his body so brutally that blood started seeping right out of his pores. And so the kid wanted more. The next morning, Yihi noticed the bright sun stinging his eyes. Shujo showed him the curriculum, where he had to choose a mentor. The group text announced that because of his flawless pendant test score, Yihi could pick any mentor he wanted. They headed to the gym, but seeing the massive lines and feeling totally bored, Yihi decided to just take a walk through the city instead. While wandering, a strange scent of blood put him on high alert as he realized this was no ordinary smell. Looking closer, he realized the smell came from a young girl happily eating a massive sandwich. He was completely stunned. Despite her cute looks, she radiated a terrifying aura. Suddenly, she stared him down and asked if he practiced the demon flesh technique. Intrigued by her remarkably mature way of speaking, he listened as she explained how she had helped little Hu perfect that exact same technique. Shocked to realize she meant the statue spirit, whom she claimed to have mentored some 90 years ago, since Yihi did not believe her till she got deeply offended. Her being an old lady was about as likely as him becoming the emperor. Faced with his utter disbelief, pay attention here. Watch what happens when she proves her power by showing him his own head, rolling off a guillotine, leaving him terrified. To calm him down, she offered him a lollipop and begged him not to expose her to the academy, explaining she only had 2 hours a day in the physical world. Yihi asked who she was, and she softly introduced herself as Gong Kei, an incredibly powerful master who allegedly made the academy principal cry when they were both just little kids. Recognizing her overwhelming strength, Yihi fell to his knees, confessed he had spent years searching for a true master, and begged to be her disciple, making her blush slightly. Meanwhile, in the gym, the 5 directors were idolized by freshmen who dreamed of having them as mentors, though in reality, the top brass were only there to meet Yihi, the single student who scored a perfect mark on the pendant test. No idea that the dragon boss was an artificial intelligence modeled after national hero Fu Hongsheng, whose record had stood for 100 years. Directors fully expected Yihi to become a legendary grandmaster. All hopes shattered when an agent revealed that Yihi had requested to apprentice under Gon, the former imperial instructor and current special agent. News left the directors utterly terrified. In time, Yihi kept pestering the girl, but she explained she had already been expelled from the academy. You and I were probably just as shocked when he promised that if she accepted him, he would free her within 2 years. The master loved his offer. Furious, the directors rushed over to confront Gon. One of them, a massive man with a stern face, reminded her that student contact was forbidden, and ordered her home. Just to spite them, Gong commanded her brand new disciple to follow her and leave right away. They walked. Gong explained that she had accidentally hurt many students in the past, which is why she was locked in this research facility, and she asked Yi if he was scared to be her disciple. Far from afraid, the young man was actually thrilled at the idea of getting beaten to pieces. They reached the 66th floor, which had an incredibly narrow corridor built specifically for her. With her time rapidly running out, Gon dashed forward and ordered the boy to keep up at top speed. The very last second, she crossed the safety line before the gate shut tight, locking the pursuing faculty out. This triggered a containment protocol in the area that Yi figured would seriously restrict his powers. Gong clarified that this place was her cell and showed him a 3-story house equipped with state-of-the-art facilities. President Shi Jin calmed the furious directors, defending Yi's firm decision to choose her. He argued that their ultimate mission was raising someone who could protect humanity, so they had to let him train with her. On his monitor, the president analyzed the extremely low chances of Yi actually surviving his training with Gong, yet he believed the kid must be prepared to die, making this the absolute ultimate training ground. The aim was to prepare the next generation of warriors for the changing world as fast as possible. In the cell, Yi began his training under his new master, who wanted to test his true power level. And as Yi takes his combat stance, what do you think is about to happen next? Today you and I are watching a merciless master force her student to unleash his inner monster. Gonko instantly dodged the strike and shattered his armor, leaving him in absolute agonizing pain. After taking that brutal beating, Yi reverted to his ordinary human form. Getting a taste of blood only thrilled his master. In response, the boy went all out by unleashing a brand new monster. This massive power made Gonko proud, prompting her to finally take this fight seriously. She attacked furiously, and though the boy reinforced his armor, she tore through it like paper, completely shocking her disciple. Right as his master lunged at the giant, Yi activated his spikes for defense, but she caught him off guard, trapping him in a powerful illusion. He was about to be executed by a guillotine. The blade fell rapidly, but right before losing his head, he roared the words, "Zawarudo." With that shout, his vampire form finally awakened, realizing that only absolute willpower could break the illusion. He summoned a barrage of meteors, shattering that fake dimension to pieces. As the chaos cleared, Yi lay armorless on the ground under the intense gaze of his mentor. Still heavily dazed, the boy asked if she had cheated. Here is the best part. Where she won fair and square, but you and I know that smile hides a massive trap. Shedding fake tears, she apologized and promised to be much gentler with him next time. He reassured her that serving her was an honor. Witnessing her student's potential, she asked what he wanted to train. He admitted he wanted to be a true martial artist and understand how she severed his mutated arm so easily. Gonko explained it takes immense practice to find the line of execution, an invisible thread crossing the body of any living human or beast. It made the boy realize that his master's clean cuts not rely on brute force, but on following that exact path, just like an expert butcher would. Even so, Gonko advised him to take things step by step to master his techniques flawlessly. He explained that a true warrior, unlike an apprentice, must master internal visualization, allowing them to see the enemy's weak points. Thus, step 1 was forging a mind stronger than the physical body. And I know what you are thinking. With the power of Zawarudo on his side, this training will be easy, right? Next, she revealed to him the 4 distinct categories of combat techniques: Heaven, Earth, Mystic Yellow, and Unleveled. She detailed how lesser schools taught the unleveled tier, while the Huadu Academy utilized the Mystic Yellow rank. Driven by curiosity, Yi asked about the Heaven and Earth techniques. He confessed they were relics of ancient ruins, with only 10 of them existing in the entire world. Although the Imperial University possessed one, he still lacked both the rank and the permission to view it. However, she revealed she could teach him a secret Earth tier technique, the murderous Bodhi Heart Sutra, which inspired absolute evil. Hearing this incredible news left the boy absolutely thrilled. Gonko pulled him into another dimension of pure bloodlust, admitting she loved seeing the red splatters. That night, Chujo was walking through the city when he spotted Yi and walked over to greet his friend. Suddenly he felt a cold blade pressed against his neck and immediately prepared to fight. Wrapped in an energy so dark it was hard to recognize him. Hours earlier in the illusion world, the boy fought waves of zombies armed with only an old sword. The goal was to instinctively grasp the line of execution, but he got overwhelmed and fell to the undead. His master was deeply impressed, as she had never seen anyone with such incredible mental resilience. Believing this boy might actually be everyone's salvation. Later, he was taking a bath when Lu Chingu suddenly called him, let him know that the boxes sent by his mother were already sitting in her room. When he offered to pick them up in person, she immediately blushed and suggested using a drone to deliver them instead. They both chatted about their mentors, but the boy avoided mentioning his master and hung up, pretending his signal was cutting out. Halfway through the school year, Wang had managed to recruit quite a few students to join the Dragon Blood Society. But things are about to get ugly, so stick with me to see how this new rival tries to destroy everything. Alright, let's dive in and see how Yiho vanished for 3 whole months to train in the research lab basement. His master literally stomped on him there, forcing in the energy needed to stabilize his new martial artist rank. Despite the crushing weight of that power, Yehei endured and threw himself completely into intense bodyweight training. Suddenly, a massive explosion shook the entire room, and he realized his muscles had completely rebuilt themselves, leaving his master amazed by his new physique. In months, Yihi decided to leave, wept bitterly over his departure, but he promised to return soon to continue training. In the city, Yeho felt suffocated by the crowded streets, but his goal was crystal clear. In Huadu, taking on security missions could earn you a massive fortune, so he headed to the activity center for a job and dropped by to see Chuzhou, who was thrilled to see him. Chuzhou revealed he was now a martial artist and wanted to see how much Yihi had grown since they last met. He wondered if Yihi could beat Shang Jianhe, who crushed Wang in 10 minutes. Just then, Qingzu joined them. Following her mother's advice, she tried to kiss Yiho, but he felt hurt that she didn't even greet him first. Realizing he had completely misunderstood her actions, Chingu turned away in pure frustration. Mention here, standing before the massive mission board, Chingu suggested 3 perfect options to test our trio's power. She explained that all quests were divided into 5 different ranks. Rookies could only take level 2 missions. Luckily, Yihi had a special pass from his master to accept much higher challenges. Chingu kept demanding to know how he got it, but Yihi chose to remain silent. Weighing their options, they decided to go for the hardest mission with the absolute best reward. However, the receptionist at the counter was deeply offended by the sheer audacity of these rookies. Yihi showed his special pass, but the lady still insisted on calling the dean's office to verify. After a quick phone call, her attitude flipped instantly, and she quickly wished them good luck. Getting out, Yehi stopped by the mechatronics lab to pick up the bonus weapon from the director, handed him a divine star gold sword, capable of channeling 95% of his martial energy. It was insanely sharp. The group traveled to Lingwei County, disguised as ordinary students, to keep their high-stakes mission a complete secret. On arrival, Yihi discreetly scanned the area. Wait, check this out, Chuzhou suddenly suggested staying at the Imperial University hostel. Right at that moment, an old man showed up and offered them a ride in his 3-wheeled motor cart. For some strange reason, Yiha felt a chilling sensation that the real danger had already begun. They piled into the old man's cargo tricycle and chatted happily along the way, acting like lifelong friends. Nearing their destination, the driver invited them to a local festival in 2 days, finally dropping them off at a creepy ruined house. As soon as they entered the gloomy place, Chingu searched one of the rooms and discovered an extremely sinister altar. Figured it was placed there recently, since the wood was clean while the rest of the house was completely rotten. Seeing this, Chuzhou drew his sword immediately, fully prepared to shatter the creepy statue with a single slash. But Lu Qingshu stopped him, suggesting they investigate first because the altar could hold some valuable clues. The girl pulled back the cloth covering the statue's face, revealing a single eye glowing with a mystical light, instantly warning Yihi of its demonic nature. Without hesitation, Chuzhou struck, and black slime slime started oozing from the statue. To stop it from escaping, Yihi activated his skills while Chujo used his sword to seal the multi-headed demon emerging. Jingu stared at the scene in absolute shock until she felt a hand rest on her shoulder. It was Yehei who realized the girl was undergoing a severe mental attack and channeled some of his own willpower to shield her mind from the corruption. Figuring the town's trouble came from this shrine, he told them to watch the sealed beast while he chased the suspicious tricycle driver. Meanwhile, at a local Buddhist temple, a priest was welcoming the toothless old tricycle driver. They led him to a massive gate to speak with the head monk about the bizarre occurrences in the county. However, as the head monk's voice echoed through the dark corridor, the priest sensed an intruder and suddenly morphed into a hideous reptilian creature. And old Genshining knelt, claiming an immortal walked among them. What happens next? You and I will find out together, because you and I are about to watch Yeha drop in out of nowhere with the Zawarudo spirit to wreck this monster. Watch out, those Buddha statues are coming alive to fight. Luckily, Zaza blocks the first strike, so Yeha doesn't even flinch. Go pulls his divine sword from his space ring, the one from his university days, and starts slicing statues mercilessly. The monuments fire back with laser beams, but they are way too slow to touch him. With a sideways slash, Yehi splits a figure open, revealing wires and metal inside. Tragically, the old rider praying nearby loses his life in the chaos. That explains why Yeha felt no life from them. Bizarre technology definitely has him intrigued. Moments later, Zaza punches right through a massive gate to announce his arrival, revealing a massive underground temple to Yihei, where a monk steps out preaching peace and love. But Yihi immediately realizes this monk is just another damn robot and slices him in half. Another monk instantly appears, warning about Yehei's heavy energy. Suddenly the ground crumbles, sending our hero plummeting into a dark pit filled with creepy-eyed doors. This time he is facing lizardmen radiating the auras of first and second tier martial artists. Undeterred by their sheer numbers, Yihi unleashes the Xuan Huang technique with his divine blade and massacres them. What kind of temple bioengineers such bizarre monsters? By the end, our protagonist piles up enough lizardmen to make himself a pretty solid leather coat. Mention here, a bold monk is insisting on purifying Yehi's energy. Suddenly the giant Buddha rises in pure rage, unleashing a devastating hand strike that could shake his ancestors' souls. However, the system fails because Yehei manages to sabotage the mechanism. The machine desperately searches for its optical eyes, only to glimpse the imposing silhouette of the summoned Daimora. Daimora delivers a brutal spiked punch while chanting a Buddhist mantra, completely pulverizing the religious android. Android fights back by firing lasers before unleashing a whole arsenal of high-powered missiles. But this heavy thermal weaponry is completely useless against a martial artist like Daimora. The robot tries attacking with spikes, but Daimora counters with a blast of nuclear energy to win. With the fight over, Yihi heads toward the lotus-shaped structure to finally uncover who is pulling the strings. Just 30 minutes earlier, 2 scientists were closely monitoring our protagonist as he invaded the temple. With every machine destroyed, they blindly trusted that the next defense would stop the intruder. Not even the Meta Buddha can stop Yihi, sending the doctors into pure despair. Old weird-eyed scientist only hopes his guards can buy some time. That is when Dr. Feng, I know what you're thinking, but this former Prometheus researcher and Laserbird employee orders the base blown up. Turns out the Laserbird Corporation took over the temple, replacing all the real monks with androids. They duped citizens into undergoing experiments under the stupid excuse of granting them divine blessings. And flee, Yehi intercepts them and completely wipes the floor with the guards blocking him. Cornered and desperate, Dr. Feng threatens to blow up everything with the simple press of a button. Yeha catches him off guard, nearly crushing his skull before letting go to demand what they are planning in Lynch County. Yihi interrogates the scientist about those 3 murdered martial artists. Old Man replies that if he talks, an internal system will explode his brain. Right after, he bites a poison capsule and drops dead, shocking Yihi, who realizes these agents are on suicide missions. The moment his heart stops beating, the base immediately triggers its self-destruct protocol. Yehi has an ace up his sleeve. warning the corpse that dying won't be that easy. With a quick strike to the jugular, he turns him into a ghoul to serve him for eternity. Regenerating, the body rejuvenates to look about 40 years old, so Yehi names him Mad Doctor. Using their new mental link, Yehi begins investigating how long the city has been under Laserbird's control. Memory showing a young scientist devouring the flesh of 3 boys sacrificed as offerings. In that same memory, the doctor suspected foul play after seeing devotees collapse right after receiving blessings. While praying for the so-called celestial descent, he noticed a numerical code on his arm, a company ID key. Come with me to see what those numbers actually unlock. Join me as we see how he discovered he was just a test subject who designed everything to regain his own memory. It soon became clear that the shadow behind this mystery was the kingdom of heavenly descent. It made Yehi realize they were dealing with a macabre cult. In the doctor's mind, he discovered the company chose this city for their sick experiments, but the cult ended up taking complete control by brainwashing every single citizen in the area. They built a massive army of cyborgs to permanently replace traditional martial artists. Doctor confessed he tried to regain control of his mind multiple times, but it was always useless. The cult operated in 4 phases, crushing people's free will and turning them into mindless zombies. They used their life force to feed a demonic fetus brought from a secret realm, and it was almost ready to hatch. With this crucial intel, Yeho figured out that the ritual would take place during the city's grand festival. In key memories to piece this puzzle together, Yehi realized the doctor was definitely involved in the Golden Gene Project, and so he chose to first handle the strange anomaly happening in Lynchway County. Even though his mission was marked as complete, Yehi wanted to steal the victory from the Heavenly Descent Kingdom. To do this, he ordered the doctor to find a way to release his own blood directly into the city's water supply. Now watch this closely. His logic was that if the people were already too far gone in Phase 4, they should serve him instead of that demonic fetus. Coming to the base, our main character found his companions happily enjoying a nice meal together. For Lou, though the local food was not appealing at all, looking closely, Chujo was horrified to discover they were eating human meat. Something was terribly wrong here. He explained everything that happened, leading Lou to deduce that the mission difficulty was now way past level 3. Despite this, Yehi was confident they could handle it and decided to wait patiently, since the shadow usually appeared at night. Meanwhile, at Laserbird headquarters, the leaders debated their next move after the Lynchway protocol got activated. One leader ordered the researchers blown to pieces to cover it up, then sent an investigation team to the zone. Over at the water treatment plant, the doctor removed the bomb implanted in his own body, with Yehi ordering him to proceed. Meanwhile, a guy named Catfish arrived at the train station. He was with Aries, a woman who looked like an ordinary, everyday working mother, who was deeply curious to know which of Laserbird's enemies was trying to ruin their plans. I know what you're thinking, but Bluebird and Golden Snake only suggested inspecting the base first. Black Lion preferred to tear down everything in his way. He immediately split the group to finish the job as fast as possible. Golden Snake and Bluebird were sent into town, instantly feeling an incredibly eerie atmosphere hanging in the air. Suddenly, the woman spotted a clay statue and sensed something highly bizarre radiating from it. That moment, Golden Snake received a report from the captain detailing the path of destruction Yehi left behind. Right then, he realized that the sleepwalking citizens were starting to surround them from all sides. Serpent yelled at Bluebird to fight back, but possessed like the rest, she stabbed a knife straight into his stomach. That exact second, he managed to catch a glimpse of the bizarre lunar demon statue. Watching the city from up high, Yehi felt his vital field completely blocked, so he warned his friends about the direction the sleepwalking horde was taking. Suddenly, Serpent and Bluebird were tied to wooden posts, with the mindless horde closely guarding them. In vain to wake his partner, desperately trying to negotiate with drooling zombies who just wanted fresh meat. Right then, a bell rang and the moon seemed to drop over the county, driving the servants completely mad. They began piling up their bodies to reach the silver glow, climbing up the posts where the Laserbird members were bound. Black Lion quickly realized that something was seriously wrong in the city. Exiting the base, they spotted a massive moon devouring everything with a beam of light striking the ground. Unsettling sight deeply worried the captain. Three of them ran toward the source, Sensing something odd on the way, the captain threw his sword. The weapon was blocked by some sort of wheel. Finding a magical object in the middle of nowhere seemed unreal, though Liu Qingju soon appeared to welcome them with her bizarre, umbrella-shaped shield. Hence, face-off left the captain wondering who their opponents actually were. And that is where we leave it, with Catfish and Ares attacking Lu and Chu. Absolute chaos erupts as the ice wall shatters like sand. Let's dive in and watch these two try to run the second their defense shatters. The lion cuts them off from behind, just as a sword drops from the sky, nearly splitting the captain in two. It was Yeha, announcing her grand entry to the battlefield. Next, the lion triggers his 12 ghosts technique, creating 12 clones to ambush our hero from every single angle. Quickly summoning Zaza, he leaps wildly between the clones to strike the real black lion, taking him down effortlessly. Meanwhile, Yeha drains the captain's blood, boosting her martial level to 8 and leaving the bandits frozen in absolute shock. Using a dark demonic technique, she resurrects the captain's corpse. The woman throws her baby into the air, mutating into a giant, horrific beast. This wild distraction lets Catfish and the heartless mother escape. Ba orders his allies to handle the cyborg while he pursues the fleeing martial arts masters. Joe unleashes his massive ice dragon form and charges straight at the beast to take it down. Watch closely here during the attack. He realizes this beast is lightning fast, so he commands the captain's demon shadow to strike. Entity splits, instantly slicing the cyborg into a million pieces. Lu channels his energy too, awakening his legendary bird bloodline to trap their enemy inside a massive sphere of power. Meanwhile, Bree tries escaping through the sewers, but Yihi cuts him off, completely blocking any chance of survival. His mother, Ares, runs in absolute panic. Seeing her son's grim fate, a cold shiver hits her as she realizes she is completely alone. Rushes toward the bright moonlight, believing it is better to risk everything than face death by Yehei's hands. Instantly, upon running into a massive pile of sleepwalkers stacked right on top of each other, Miho was trailing close behind, absolutely certain she would catch her too. Without a second thought, the woman sprints toward the zombies, using them as a literal ladder to reach a massive gate. Reaching it, she is shocked to see her parents, wondering if they abandoned her too. The illusion of Yihi chasing her begins to fade away. Hero realizes that the heavenly descent realm weaponized her deepest fears to project this illusion and lure her inside. Yihi simply watches the whole scene play out, waiting for the arrival of the demons to battle. Soon the moon shrinks back to normal, dispersing the ghost town zombies. Leo feels terrified about this mission, but our hero tells him to relax since an incredibly powerful ally is secretly protecting them. You know why? Because only heirs of elite martial families undergoing worldly trials ever receive this level of top-tier backup. Miho summons his shadow demons and instructs his friends to completely smash every single statue in the city. Joe leaves without complaining, but Qingju hesitates. Gently tells his future wife to trust his instincts, tells him that he needs to put absolute trust in his own comrades as well. Afterwards, our hero meets up with the scientist who gathered all the defeated cyborgs inside a massive crater. Yehei unleashes his giant monster, flooding the pit with blood to cover the beasts that will soon form his massive army. Scientist confirms that the engineered mosquitoes are already heading to the county to infect everyone with Yehei's vampiric blood. Absolutely thrilled with this, Hero orders them to repair the Mia Buddha and use its weapons, not wait to confront the heavenly cult leader. So they bust to the county, waiting to see that creepy fetus drop like the New Year's ball in Times Square. On the night of the festival, the moon seemed to stare down with deep satisfaction at the unfolding chaos. High Priest watches this scene with massive pride, because this is the third time the fetus will truly be born, cementing his name in their faith. Previous births brought absolute devastation. First caused massive destruction, while the second transformed this land into a deadly rank S danger zone. And the priest prepares the ritual to welcome the demon lord back for a third time. Climbing a mountain of corpses to reach the portal, he offers his blood as a sacrifice while bringing a divine coffin before the cultists. The believers add blood to the ritual, and the bold priest begins his terrifying incantation. Suddenly, a deep bell echoes through the cathedral, awakening the souls of the sleepwalkers. Furious when he notices a strange blue energy erupting, desecrating the coffin and the holy ceremony. And that is when Yehei crashes in to ruin everything. Alright, you and I are about to watch our main character show this priest, who the real demon is under a bloody moon. Right then, Yihi noticed a mysterious hooded figure looking at his brutal display with pure disapproval. The stranger invited him to join the divine sect, revealing himself as Linki, the true supreme bishop. Without hesitation, Yiho charged the sect leader, but Linki whipped out massive tentacles that instantly pinned him down. Yiha countered by instantly summoning Guardian Zaza, who unleashed a sudden, devastating strike right at the bishop. Even after that brutal blow, the bishop showed off insane healing powers. Everything shifted when a circle of priests surrounded Yihi, chanted a dark mantra, and suddenly ended their own lives. He knew it was just another cheap trick, and he was right, those corpses immediately began mutating into monsters. These beasts looked so grotesque and demonic it would make anyone want to turn around and run away. Facing this demon army, Yihi summoned his own force of cyborg lizards, triggering an absolute bloodbath between the two sides. Meanwhile, another priest with a full head of hair used his spiritual vision to track Yihi, realizing he wanted the fetus. Chuzhou showed up in heavy armor. That terrified priest wanted to run. He approached a freezing coffin, unlocking a massive reward for successfully modifying the sect's original ritual. Determined to kill the demon, he opened the coffin but found it empty. Suddenly, total silence fell over the area, and the high priest materialized once more. He mocked Yihi, explaining the giant moon was just an illusion and that he was trapped inside a dream. Meanwhile, Liu and Chuzhou were bravely fighting for their lives against the hairy priest's archdemon. Unleashing his epic dragon form, Chuzhou decided to strike the demon with his ultimate attack. The beast blocked it barehanded, shattering the sword, but a sharp piece of metal pierced straight through its mouth. On cue, the Mad Doctor arrived with an energy bazooka, deploying toxic drones to save the duo. The priest wondered where such powerful kids came from, and Chuzhou smirked, saying they were just Huadu rookies. Suddenly, coffins crashed down, releasing brainwashed sleepwalkers, and Liu recognized several of them as fallen Huadu warriors. I know what you are thinking, but seeing Liu Qinggu in deep trouble, the Mad Doctor quickly sent giants to protect her. He managed to break free from the sleepwalkers to help Yihi, but the priest ordered his corpses to block her path. Despite everything, enemy projectile hit Liu Qinggu hard. Still, she refused to give up, collapsing right into Yihi's arms. Ignoring her injuries, Liu Qingshu took flight to pull Yihi away, only to see the giants slaughtered by corpse warriors. Out of nowhere, a booming voice commanded Liu Qinggu to drop Yiho, her mind with a brutal psychic attack. In control, she began to freefall straight toward the ground. Below, the grotesque corpses stretched their necks like amoebas, turning them into razor-sharp spikes to impale her. Luckily, Yihi snapped awake just in time to activate his Zahawudo skill, apologizing to Liu Qingshu for oversleeping. Absolutely furious that Yihi escaped his mental trap, charging forward along with his legion of corpses. In response, Yihi summoned his massive humanoid giant to literally stomp the enemies into dust. Suddenly, a sharp bark interrupted the battle. The priest who trapped Yiha was now suffering from his own deadly poison. Then the moon demon ordered the priest to climb into a coffin so he could possess his physical body. While all this happened, wiped out the remaining monsters, but the final boss was left. The moon demon descended, eyes completely cold. Yihi was actually glad the real leader finally showed up, but he noticed their entire surroundings had turned into a massive moon. He realized he was trapped in a powerful chimerism, an illusion capable of dealing real physical damage, rendering his system's golden body completely useless. The demon stepped forward, praising Yihi's courage, claiming he had the perfect compatibility needed to complete his transformation. Offered him a spot to rule the world together, but Yihi instantly declined because he prefers solo play. Demon warned him that he always asks nicely first, but ultimately he just takes whatever he wants. With that, the demon crushed the giant with one hand, pinning Yihi down, but realized he could not feel his soul. Yiha laughed, and trust me, that vampire regeneration trick, splitting his body in two, is going to leave us completely speechless. Get ready, because if one half got destroyed, he would just wake up in the other. The demon did not believe the kid's cleverness until a golden blade shattered that illusion. It was Qing Long, leader of the First Division of the Order of the Bird and Dragon. Yiho laughed softly, having already reported the demon to the order, knowing he could not defeat him alone. The deity decided to spare Yiho's body to use later, tossing him far away from the battle. The division leader was curious about the demon's interest in the boy, but chose to finish him first with a ruthless attack. Yiho traveled in a capsule toward a forest, feeling slightly nauseous from the rough trip. On landing, he noticed he was in a place far away from Lingwei County. Luckily, he had already sent his friends and the doctor to safety, so he took this chance to study the absorbed power of the moon demon, Beros, and was to merge it with his speed skills to warp illusory areas, since the Vermilion model could manipulate time. As a result, his vampiric skill evolved, gaining several brand new attributes. Completely shocked by the massive strength he had gained, even though the process to obtain it almost sent his beloved friends straight to their death. Now pay attention here. After testing his new power, he headed to school for help, knowing the ruthless Master Qinglong would question him. In Huadu, he met with President Xin Jingwen, who congratulated him on the county mission. The official cult could vanish so easily from public view. He assured him the mission would officially be filed as level 4. This was to avoid panicking the public, but his reward would equal a level 5 clearance. Yiho was intrigued by the man's flattery, as he seemed completely blind to the shortcuts taken to win. The next day, while waiting for his interrogation in the presidential office, Yiho saw shocking footage of the county battle. It had been reduced to a giant crater, making him fear the demon would hunt him down. The president had already warned him that Qinglong was famous for sealing such demonic influences, but his anxiety lingered until Chief Qing stepped into the room, looking completely different from how he remembered him. Qinglong explained he had lingering injuries from the fight and was there to seal the demonic mark on Yiho. Before starting, he decided to share a quick piece of his own past with the young man, feeling that he almost turned into a demonic beast, which is why he was exiled to an island to protect innocence. Then Qinglong unwrapped his bandages, and just looking at those strange symbols made Yiho's eyes bleed. I know what you're thinking, but Qinglong was shocked because anyone else would have passed out. The master announced he would heal the boy's mark forever, releasing a purifying power that Yiho's system recognized immediately. After the process, Yiho thanked the man, who asked if Gong Kei was his master. He had recalled she had asked him for discretion. Qinglong showed no ill will toward the woman, mentioning he expected a bright future for her. Suddenly, he proposed a friendly match, claiming that a small sparring session among friends wouldn't hurt anyone. Yiho accepted the challenge and suggested they fight under the moonlight. They headed to an outdoor arena where the master clarified he would only defend using one hand. If Yiho could budge him, he would win. He could ask for any wish he wanted, along with a direct promotion to the first division of the Order of the Bird and Dragon. Yiho agreed and drew his sword, triggering the master's curiosity over the strange demonic aura radiating from the boy. Yiho's first strike was packed with pure killing intent, and Qinglong clenched his fist, recognizing the sheer power of the blow. The impact was so massive that even Gong Kei, resting inside her cocoon, could feel it crystal clear. Meanwhile, in the room of student Shang Jianhai, who was enjoying the company of a young lady, he also felt that terrifying killing intent from afar, finding the whole thing incredibly strange. Even though all surrounding structures were destroyed, Master Qinglong stood tall. Yiho was stunned by his rival's direct counter, a military punch, leaving zero room for defense. Seeing the boy collapse, the master realized he had burned his energy on a forbidden technique to win. To prevent serious injury, he rushed to catch him. Remaining completely calm, Yiho pointed out that since the master had moved from his original spot, he lost the fight. Qinglong accepted the defeat, and Yiho assured him he would collect his massive reward later on. The master advised him to train his physical body more to endure that deathly aura. Yiho felt proud of himself for not even using his emperor model, and that is where we leave it, with Qinglong advising the kid to seek a master. Alright, you and I are about to watch how the master almost offered to train him, but Yihei completely missed the hint. Gift, the master handed Yihei a Western medallion containing physical cultivation techniques, leaving our young lead absolutely thrilled, completely unaware that Qinglong, despite being a great grandmaster, had struggled immensely to learn those techniques himself, and hoped the kid would ask for help. Later, as Yihei examined the medallion in his room, the doorbell rang. Opening the door, he found the first-year student, Wang, standing there and asking to talk. He was shocked when the boy dropped to his knees, begging him to take over the Dragon Blood Society. Disgusted by the rookie's defeated spirit, Yihei decided to drag him into training to completely rebuild his self-respect. The session was so brutal that Wang could barely speak, but a generous Yihi offered him a blood transformation pill to recover. Once he recovered, the young man explained that the society initially gained tons of attention, even with students from other cities. However, they were soon sabotaged by the student council, which was dominated by the local Huadu students. He revealed the main culprit behind their fall was a popular student named Xiang, who had publicly humiliated him. Yehei just listened to what he saw as a typical dramatic sob story about getting beaten up by a school bully. Wang said asking seniors for help would look bad. Close attention because he begged fellow rookie Yihi to step in. Our protagonist agreed to help, and as Wang nearly cried from pure joy, demanded more details, making it clear he wouldn't look for trouble just to beat up some random bully. Wu Yang revealed that a professor had announced a massive reconquest campaign in the Sea Realm. The goal was to reclaim 12 cities captured by demonic beasts, recruiting academy students to join the battle. As president, Yihi had to score enough points for the Dragon Blood Society to qualify, and he accepted. The moment Uang left, he realized this was a massive opportunity to grow stronger using the new mission rewards. Meanwhile, several students were gathered back at the Dragon Blood Society headquarters. Shinchen complained about Wang being late, which annoyed Yan due to the newcomer's sheer arrogance. Still, he held back and replied that Wang had gone to find the organization's true president. Infuriated Shinchen and Lan Yusei, who instantly suggested disbanding the entire society for good, and urged them to speak. Now, I know what you're thinking, but their best option was joining Imperial Master Jokai. Whispers spread through the room as everyone wondered if they could trust Yihi, who had been missing for ages. Before Yan could reply, himself kicked the door open. Yan lost his temper and attacked, but a cold girl suddenly blocked his path. The new faction leader ordered anyone wishing to join to prove their loyalty by brutally beating up poor Yan. As the society members hesitated, Jokai got angry and declared that none of them were worthy of following him. Right at that moment, Yihi suddenly appeared out of nowhere and grabbed him tightly by the hair. Without hesitating for a single second, he threw both him and the cold girl straight out the window. Yihi ordered the disloyal members to leave. Regretting their poor choice, they hesitated to even make a move. Seeing this, Wang offered them another chance if they accepted a punishment. Yihi gave them a death glare and they agreed instantly. Shortly after, Yihi met with the leaders to plan a strategy that would let them enter the Shi reconquest on time. He declared his goal was to defeat Shangzhen High and pull this evil out by its roots once and for all. But Wang explained that the strongest rookies were going into isolation to reach martial master level, disappointing Yihi. Since drawing attention was the best way to earn cash, he asked if anyone knew the Dragon Bird Division. Yan's eyes lit up, as that was the single most prestigious martial division in the entire Sea Realm. And Yihi got a brilliant idea. Acting as the division's star agent, he would challenge every student below Grandmaster level, leaving Yan completely dumbfounded. He confirmed it was true, though he made it clear he couldn't share too many details. With absolute trust in him, Uong decided to publish this explosive headline in the school newspaper. The news spread fast, shocking everyone with the challenge and exposing Yihei's identity. Meanwhile, Chu and Lu laughed, knowing how much their friend loved making a scene. And with that official challenge, get ready. Get ready, because you and I are about to dive into total madness with a massive crowd and happy sponsors. In the scenes, Yukai planned to use this chance for payback on Yihi. On tournament day, the arena was packed, streaming the fight globally. Yihi made a grand rockstar entrance, arriving by helicopter, while the veteran Long Tao was itching for a fight. He wanted to challenge Yihi, hoping to ride the hype and gain thousands of online followers. He made a stylish entrance, wanting to be remembered as the first challenger. The crowd went wild, but Yihi welcomed him with a clean punch to the chin. Even with a shattered nose, all Longo could think about was the fame he wanted so badly. Next up was Yaoling, a fierce warrior who had already beaten 3 level 7 martial arts masters, but Yihi literally shattered her spear with one hand. Bored of fighting one by one, he challenged everyone to attack him at the exact same time. Now watch closely, because even with the group attack, our main character swept them all without breaking a sweat. Witnessing this, Jokai was deeply intrigued by the kid's massive power and planned to call his big brother for help. Everyone knocked out cold on the ground. Kai's brother Yating finally stepped up, possessed enough strength to defeat a grandmaster and apologized for his little brother's disrespect when visiting the Dragon Blood Society, so Yihi simply asked why he was challenging him. Yating replied that he fought for family pride, claiming that despite Kai's mistake, Yihi should not have disgraced his brother, then demanded he kneel and apologize publicly. At this point, a clash was completely unavoidable. Both clashed at the exact same moment, and amidst the explosive blows, nobody could tell who would win. Right then, Yihi noticed Yating's armor heating up as his arm filled with scorching, bright solar energy. The crowd watched the fight with bated breath until Yihi activated his monster armor and landed a heavy punch on Yating. The insane display of power had someone in the crowd straight up call him the Demon King. Meanwhile, Yating was just trying to understand how Lu could ever fall for such a brutal fighter. Suddenly, he felt Yihi expanding in size, forcing him to block the giant main character's incoming attack. Realizing his bones wouldn't last much longer, Yating decided to rely on speed to level the playing field, since he stood zero chance in raw strength. Using this tactic, he easily dodged Yihi's heavy blows while pushing his body temperature to the absolute limit, glowing as if he carried the sun on his back, before unleashing his ultimate blazing fire strike. You and I both know Yihi wanted a real challenge, so he used this chance to test his own ultimate attack, the Sky End Dragon Cannon. The techniques collided with a devastating impact, and Yating genuinely feared for his very life. Tommy's director jumped in to save his life. Even though the director hadn't planned to intervene, Yihi fired that technique specifically to draw him out. He agreed to help our main character wrap things up, roaring in a booming voice, asking who else dared to challenge the champion. No one stepping up, the director officially declared Yihi the winner. The protagonists celebrated, while the announcer declared this rookie would go down in Academy history as a total legend. Following his victory, Yihi completely took over social media, becoming the ultimate role model at Anshang High. But this sudden fame didn't sit well with the Bird and Dragon division. While the Dragon Blood Society celebrated the massive victory in their room, on a call with the Mad Doctor, who found out how to unlock the Golden Gene. The device had a built-in tracker that would trigger upon being handled. Onto this, he started building a magnetically shielded room, which would take a week to finish. During the explanation, Yihi hung up the phone. Furious, he searched the doctor's mind and discovered that Project Prometheus was connected to the Heavenly Descent realm, using all its massive resources to secretly raise a demonic fetus. Yihi also learned that the project's leaders betrayed the cult to capture the original demon and run experiments on it. This led to Project Eden to create an artificial god and stop the invasions, and Project Spark, which birthed the golden laser bird gene. He realized this was merely the tip of the iceberg, and he'd soon have to confront these massive projects directly. For now, join me as we watch him study Long's amulet. Come along with me as he activates his dream cultivation to wake up on a rainy battlefield. In that place there was an eternal fire, and the fallen had claw marks that did not look human at all. Stripped off his armor, fully prepared to face the mission boss, a carriage approached with a mustached driver who swerved around Yehi like he was just a pebble in the road. However, Yehi forced the vehicle to stop, making the driver mistake him for a common thief. Insulted, but the driver explained his suspicion came from a blue-haired guy who tried stealing their sacred family legacy. Fed up with the talking, Yihi wrecked the carriage to force the old man to guide him through this martial aura world. Annoyed, the old driver led Yihi down a path that was supposed to take him directly to the testing grounds. The track suddenly vanished because the old man had decided to play a dirty trick on him. Unbothered, Yihi searched the sky for clues and exposed the trick, completely shocking the driver, who never expected him to crack it so fast. Ye realized he needed to reach the plains, so he borrowed the old man's horse. They rode off at full speed, but the beast threw them off after sensing an imminent danger nearby. Now pay attention here. Yehe spotted a sinister monster and knew it was the star-devouring calamity. A devastating blast of fire at them, but the old man remained unharmed, untouched by the danger. Yehe realized the real goal wasn't killing the beast, but gathering the sacred symbols to deliver to him. The driver was absolutely stunned to see that Yehe also survived that fiery attack, without a single scratch. Bit by bit, the young man was channeling the local monster's power, deciding to transform using the majestic emperor model to fight on equal terms. The old man watched in absolute shock as the two clashed in a fierce battle, unleashing lightning and fire everywhere. Yeihei unleashed a full power attack, leaving the mighty dragon with only 3 heads. Then he fired an atomic beam that vaporized the creature, claiming the heart of the beast for himself. The old man watched, unable to believe his eyes. Yeihei began examining the giant heart. He felt his arm melt from the extreme heat. After examining it thoroughly, he finally discovered exactly what he was searching for. A ring of wires rapidly wrapped around his body, granting him an epic armor and making him the first in 1,000 years to fully wear this model. I know what you're thinking, but the old man soon realized that this kid was actually worthy, then decided that he absolutely needed the expansion 2.0 for his new armor. He concluded that only with this upgrade could he withstand the suit's hidden power, and he wouldn't leave this world without obtaining it. 7 days later, Yihi was resting when his phone rang, warning him that the director wanted to hand over his county mission reward. However, the young man looked like a total zombie, utterly exhausted from intensive training with the dragon armor. At the highest tower, Secretary Nua greeted him. He instantly sensed something incredibly strange in her aura, but followed her to meet the director anyway. Noticing the young man's curiosity, the secretary decided to reveal her true nature as a cyborg with a human head, designed to look friendlier. Yehi found the university's tech fascinating, keeping close behind her until they reached the director's floor. Suddenly, the young man felt a bizarre shift in his mind, and the very next second he was sitting on a cozy office couch. Director Shin offered him some tea, and Yeihei grew highly curious about the technique he used to alter time. Shin confirmed he possessed that ability, making Yihi finally understand how he had managed to save Yashing during their clash. The director showed him the level 5 mission rewards, but Yehi made it clear he only wanted access to the Prometheus file. The director agreed without hesitation, leaving him deeply intrigued. Yehi followed him to a chamber housing the half of a giant brain. Shin explained that this organ controlled Nua's artificial intelligence and was once part of the Prometheus project decades ago. Yihi was completely shocked to discover that this brain belonged to the very first demon captured alive. The director had Nua download the data onto a drive and handed it to him, providing a personal assistant ready to answer his questions. Director Shin's trust was so unreal that Yihi immediately suspected some kind of strange conspiracy behind it. Meanwhile, in another corner of the school, the student Xiang was boosting his power through martial meditation, bumped straight into Yihi, and trust me, you and I both know he is not here to surrender. Let's watch how Yihei handles this arrogant punk. He made it clear he only wanted the training room, which absolutely enraged Xiang, who unleashed his aura to intimidate him. Sick of his attitude, Yihei delivered a devastating punch after all. He just wanted to train in peace and quiet. Once inside, Yihei consumed all his hoarded cores, feeling incredibly grateful to the artificial intelligence Nua for making his college life so easy. Under his command, the artificial intelligence immediately activated the nuclear energy shield, allowing him to swallow the power pills. His level shot up, sealing him inside a crystal coffin-like cocoon. When this structure finally shattered, the king of monsters would be revealed. Meanwhile, the day to reclaim Jia arrived. Thousands of warriors marched alongside the director, who watched the massive army from above. Then, the leader let out a fierce battle cry, and his soldiers answered by igniting the cosmos in their hearts, sending their martial chi straight to the heavens as the director fired up their souls with an epic commander speech. Far away, finishing his transformation like a caterpillar turning into a butterfly, Laserbird Supervisor Yu Yan was dwelling on her recent failures, saw the reclaiming of Xia as her ultimate chance to display her power, exploiting the fact that the bird and dragon divisions were distracted. Pay attention here, her plan was to unleash a monster with a golden gene that could track down what was lost. With this in mind, she unlocked a heavily secured door, revealing a pod that both fed and contained this absolute abomination. An airplane carrying the monster's pod flew towards Xiang, led by a ruthless captain determined to locate the missing golden gene. Suddenly the plane spun out of control, revealing the captain was a laser bird traitor who mercilessly wiped out his entire crew. Sealed inside the pod, the beast caught the scent of death, The captain, a secret ally of Bayun, fed the creature hearts of Grandmaster-level warriors, like someone feeding their own pet. Seeing the beast demanded more, and no longer caring about the gene, the captain ordered it to unleash total chaos on Zia. He then abandoned the aircraft, leaving the creature to finish its feast and prepare for a brutal assault. God finally ruptured, and the bloodthirsty monster tasted freedom as it ruthlessly devoured everything in its path. Meanwhile, the air raids began in Xi'ing. Another winged beast tried to attack the plane, but our monster lunged at it without hesitation, shredding it in seconds. With this, the creature sprouted a massive wing and multiple eyes. Tell me if you don't get chills watching it scan for different genes, like it's looking at an all-you-can-eat buffet. The warriors rushed to the crashed plane, fully trusting that the redhead Liu would smash any beast in her way. They soon spotted the creature devouring other monsters as if enjoying an endless banquet. The beast seemed pleased that the warriors took the bait, and a brutal clash exploded. However, the heavy strikes from Warrior Zhang did not seem to deal even a single scratch to the beast. To the absolute horror of everyone there, they watched him get eaten alive. Enraged, Liu charged in, but took a counterattack from the enemy that she immediately recognized as Zhang's own move. Suddenly she heard her friend's voice echoing from dark tentacles that displayed his agonizing face, begging her for help. The gruesome sight completely froze the warrior, allowing the monster's immense power to quickly overwhelm her. The creature used Liu's body to infiltrate the other warriors, aiming to discover the exact coordinates of the golden gene. Elsewhere, a powerful warrior confronted and easily defeated a Lord-class beast with his spear. It was Chen Yanu, director of the Huadu Academy of Grainmasters, with Dai Qiming, the student council president, about the safest path to the sovereign beast's nest, though Dai Qiming suggested not rushing and analyzing the situation first. During his meditation, he envisioned the arrival of an egg crashing into the ground, exploding like a meteorite. From its core emerged the colossal sovereign beast, forcing the director to order an immediate combat formation. He charged forward with his spear ready, but the giant creature countered with a devastating punch. The wizard, as fast as a genie in a lamp, managed to pierce right through the enemy's arm, clearing a path for the leader. The monster struck at the old mage, but a shield saved him. I promise you, this is about to get crazy. Right after, a yin-yang controller attacked, completely sealing its movements. Get ready, because you and I are about to witness humanity's most brutal clash against the Monster King itself, an unstoppable sovereign beast. Triggering a new transformation, it attacked again, unleashing a massive fireball that knocked the warriors down like cheap bowling pins. The director struck back with a powerful lightning spear. The horned insect-like beast tossed the shield warrior straight toward a dragon, like he was nothing but a snack. Finally, it grabbed the director by his throat to choke him while mocking his squad, claiming they would never defeat the sovereigns of Xi'ing. Over in the eastern sector, ship's admiral watched the battle against another monster that had just evolved into a sovereign class among the buildings. Facing extreme danger, ordered the ground troops to evacuate to prepare the launch of nuclear warheads. Suddenly, a massive tentacle attacked the ship, which fired a magnetic cannon to sever it, but the limb regenerated in just 1 second. No time to lose, the officer launched the piercing projectiles, which exploded directly on the ground. The man prayed that the warriors had escaped safely, and an agent even confirmed that the sovereign's vital signs had completely vanished. The relief was short-lived, as the beast recovered quickly from the blast, plunging the officer into absolute despair. An evacuation alert went off after detecting an intercontinental missile carrying a strange, unknown life signal. Watch this. It was Yihei riding the massive missile with absolute determination. Minutes earlier, our main character had completed his evolution under Nua's strict watch to equip the young man with special nano armor sent by Qinglong. That was when Yihei realized he was late for battle and took off into the chaos riding the missile. Approached, he launched the projectile at the monster and activated his domain power. Grandmaster's arrival renewed their hope as Yihei uncovered the beast's true face, unleashing a devastating celestial strike with the moon itself as his only witness. At the same time, Wuhong's body and shield were shattered, but President Chen Yan-yu kept resisting with everything he had, forcing the sovereign to use its third mutation. Facing this, the president charged forward, but the creature blocked him with absolute ease. As a sign of respect, the monster promised that after the warrior's death, he would evolve him into a superior form, while pulverizing any survivors without mercy. That moment, Wuhong stood back up, taking on a strange alien-like appearance, sovereign recognized as the dark influence of ancient demonic experiments. The shield warrior began to transform using massive tentacles, introducing himself as the negative, ready to devour the sovereign monster itself. He began pummeling the alien, but his hands were caught by tentacles that dissolved his body. Realizing it was a trap, he was swallowed whole by the negative, who then joked about needing an antacid to finish digesting him. "You think it was over?" The warriors fled to save Director Chen. The comet-like energy streaked across the sky, exploding on the alien. Yihei had arrived to save the day, then unleashed a nuclear Hadouken and flew high with the beast, executing a brutal ground slam that nearly buried it. Monster got up, revealing it now possessed the powers of the sovereign insect it just ate. Delivered a kick that sent the monster flying through the air, crashing straight into a massive building. Despite the heavy hit, the creature stood up and arrogantly asked if that was all he had. Yihei loved the attitude and fired back with another nuclear strike, leaving all the watching warriors completely stunned. They wondered who this insanely powerful guy was, but the monster could divide itself, growing stronger with every single blow from Yihei. Sensing his opponent possessed a supreme gene, the beast resolved to devour him, mutating its own body to grow into an even more gargantuan creature. In response, Yihei activated his dragon arm and unleashed a punch so brutal it literally split the sea. Impact hit the enemy dead-on, forcing him to shrink back into his original humanoid form. And so, the monster managed to unleash a powerful genetic blast. Emerged from the smoke, shielded by Zaza, remarking that he had not even shown his real limits yet. The monster struck first, firing blasts using the skills of all the creatures he had swallowed over time. None could bring down our hero, though Yihei could not finish him off either, and proposed dividing up the planet so neither of them would lose. And trust me, Yihei promised he would only need 10 minutes to destroy this loudmouth. Let's check out this doubter who couldn't grasp how our hero would pull off such an epic feat. Using that moment of hesitation, Yihei snatched the beast and dragged it into hyperspace to deliver the finishing blow without destroying the Earth. And worked, because the weakened monster had already wasted most of its protective shells during their brutal battle. Once they cleared the planet, the minds of all the absorbed creatures stopped responding to the beast entirely, leaving it with just one single life. In a desperate frenzy, the monster self-destructed to stop Yihei from destroying all its remaining fragments. Reacting instantly, Yihai expanded his own body to absorb every drop of the beast's blood, crushing it with zero chance to escape. Next, he compressed the remaining gore into a tiny sphere and swallowed it whole without hesitation. Then he unleashed the absolute power of the Flame Lord, cranking his internal heat to stellar levels to make the beast implode from the inside. Meanwhile, Dai Chiming updated headquarters on the war. He was incredibly grateful for the sudden arrival of this mysterious warrior who had just saved them from a horrifying fate. During the transmission, he learned that their savior actually came from Huadu, completely baffled him since he had never seen the guy. Meanwhile, Yiho plummeted back down like a comet, testing his raw negative energy. Armed with his supreme vampire evolution, now pay close attention here, because he can shapeshift into absolutely anything. Feeling completely invincible, Yihi soared high above the city. Moment, a Baton Nation commander tracked the massive energy trail Yihi left while slicing through the atmosphere. Agents from that federation were completely stunned to see that the energy spike, massive nuclear detonation, still registered clear signs of life from Yiha in his supreme state. With pure contempt, Yihi flipped the commander off just as their scanners detected a power level so insane it absolutely terrified them. Without hesitation, Yihi vaporized the spy satellites that the hostile nation kept using to watch his homeland. Realizing his new power could envelop the entire globe, he expanded his magnetic field to monitor every single occupied zone on Earth. His detection range reached Guan City, where helpless humans stood zero chance against an aggressive S-rank territory. On Shang Island, deep inside a massive palace, a sickly-looking creature was receiving medicine from enslaved humans. The Beast King seemed deeply anxious, fearing a sudden human counterattack. And look at this, over on the western continent, they witnessed a literal miracle in the holy city as a floating man prepared for redemption. Meanwhile, out in the frozen seas, a massive icebreaker forged ahead. He knew all about our protagonist's legendary feats and blamed a blue-haired guy for stalling his recovery instead of letting him fight. In the middle of everything, our hero realized that he was also being watched. Considering the mess, he reached the grim conclusion that Fu Hong, humanity's greatest warrior, might actually be a traitor. Yi flew straight toward Kulin Peak, a legendary place known for neutralizing all energy types and sealing off hidden dimensions. Arriving there, he found zero evidence of recent battle and decided to search for the powerful Fu Hong right away, completely confident since all of his systems were now running at maximum capacity. Figured if the world had no protectors left, he would carry that weight himself. Walking through the empty streets, Yi noticed a presence stalking him. Suddenly, a blue beam struck the ground, and a massive worm emerged right in front of him. The main character reacted instantly, using his mental slash to slice the grotesque creature clean in half. The strike revealed an energy field inside the beast, and out crawled the doctor, covered in slimy goo that nearly made Yi gag. The doctor explained he hid inside to escape a sinister monster sent by Laserbird to retrieve the highly coveted golden gene. Yi calmly told him that he had already destroyed that creature, leaving the genius scientist totally speechless at his sheer power. Then the doctor revealed the gene, and Yiha felt an overwhelming primal urge to devour it on the spot, though he managed to hold back for now to avoid falling into a deep, prolonged state of hibernation. Thanking him for his service, Yihi struck the doctor's chest, injecting negative biomass directly to make him immensely stronger. Shortly after, he grew a crystal shell on his back, ripped it off, and handed it to the man to trigger his evolution. Doctor reacted with pure childlike joy and started weeping tears of gratitude. But Yi had no time for drama, ordering him to keep working while promising to purge the remaining threats from the city himself. With the sovereign of the East dead, the remaining human fighters pushed hard against the weakened, disoriented beast. Fighting stopped when the artificial intelligence Nua ordered them to leave the city to Yi. And trust me, everyone obeyed instantly. But I are jumping right into the action where Yi suddenly interrupts the retreat, using massive tentacles and heavy weapons to crush the enemies. Soldiers watched in absolute shock, literally a one-man army. Suddenly, Yi's weapons overheated and shut down. Commander quickly seized the moment, ordering heavy missile strikes for cover. Insane that even the monsters seemed to respect humanity's massive technological evolution. As soon as Yi's weapons cooled down and booted back up, the beasts got shredded from every direction. Them overheated yet again. Taking advantage of this sudden glitch, the three-headed wolf ordered his hordes to charge. Meanwhile, Command detected even more lordal beasts closing in, making a terrible situation so much worse. Facing this massive threat, the retreating warriors chose to stay behind and back up Yi. Before they could move, a blinding light shot from our protagonist's weapon, completely vaporizing the remaining beasts and leaving nothing for anyone else. Then Yi spread his wings, ready to save the world. Clearing the city unlocked a new weapon model, driving him to save the rest for more sweet rewards. Everywhere, people celebrated with pure joy now that 3 entire cities were completely reclaimed. Now pay close attention here, because news suddenly broke that the western city was cleared by director Chen Tianu, and Liu Qingju felt deeply curious after recognizing the brilliant blue light shining from that very area. Back at headquarters, the minister ordered them to keep Yi's identity a secret. Soon after, the young hero himself showed up to ask a favor. The minister showed so much respect he looked ready to literally kiss his feet. And Yi simply asked for his prime student identification. In the minister's eyes, the kid already surpassed President Xin Jingwen, still called the student council leader, to grant him the official title. Rushed over and thanked Yi on behalf of the whole academy, leaving our hero feeling pretty embarrassed by all the sudden attention. Formality was worth it, since the title boosted his evolution power, allowing him to acquire a rare class A monster, the Hell Star, a colossal beast capable of blocking out the sun with truly mind-blowing abilities. This made Yihei want to fuse it with Demora. Meanwhile, over in Chin City, some local warriors grumbled about only clearing 2 sectors in a day, crawled with hidden rodents, making it impossible to fight them directly and wipe them out all at once. You and I can totally feel their sheer frustration, realizing 2 entire cities were already cleared without them. Their leader was absolutely furious. It was impossible to hunt their boss in such cramped tunnels, but Yihei was ready to clear the place in total stealth. His decision was mainly triggered by the sudden disappearance of the area's top 3 powerful leaders. It was all due to the betrayal of Fu Hongsheng. Yihei couldn't understand why he would weaken their nation, but he knew only he could stop him. To pull that off, though, he first needed to evolve way more, and liberating Chin City was the perfect chance. When he arrived, the area was choked with shadowy fog, hiding the enemy leader's location. Hero had a trick up his sleeve and activated a special ability to track him down. His energy flooded the sewers with devastating tentacles, easily devouring those disgusting giant rats. Watching his forces get absolutely destroyed, the enemy boss finally showed his face. Furious that humans would insult him by sending just 1 fighter, he swore to completely crush our hero into dust. Ignoring the beast's desperate rage, Yihei simply raised his hand and summoned a massive vortex, unleashing an attack called Divine Punishment. The rat sovereign tried to run, but Yihei blocked him, trapping him with energy tentacles. Immediately, the devastating blow crashed down, instantly vaporizing the monster's body. Of course, his core remained intact, but as Yihei reached to grab it, the core split into multiple tiny rats that scrambled away in pure panic. To handle this, our main character called on Zaza, who immediately froze time for those annoying little pests. This allowed Yihei to easily spot the real core inside them and target the actual boss. The rodents grouped back up, merging into a gross embryonic form that quickly absorbed all the rest. Reborn and utterly terrified of Yihei's power, the beast fled to the domain of sin, diving straight into a portal to head back home. Colossal purple light lit up the entire sky, prompting the city's warriors to rush out and investigate the scene. When they arrived, every single rat was gone, leaving them wondering who on earth could unleash that kind of insane power. What can I make of this? 4 cities reclaimed in 1 week brings real hope to humanity. Come along with me to see how the top brass practically died of fear, clueless about who was wiping out monsters. Meanwhile, Yiha headed straight to Bochang, a hotspot plagued by extremely chaotic and confusing battle reports, altered his appearance, morphing into a sinister creature and transforming his blade into a wicked scythe. Using this secret identity, Ye utilized the assassination arts of Master Gongka and set off to a very suspicious town. Ye figured the local ruler was using illusions, which explained why none of the locals seemed alarmed by the ongoing battles. Investigating the citizens, he discovered they were actually zombies, a complete atrocity committed by the twisted ruler. Using his unique technique on a corpse, Yehi tried to find out what monster did this. The deceased woman revealed the ruler even assassinated their local president, and him that only a Grand Master could possibly defeat their leader. With her final words spoken, the warrior found peace, and Ye vowed to exact a merciless, brutal revenge. Determined to wipe them out, Yiho activated his magnetic field to hunt the ruler, but only detected wandering zombies. So he unleashed his dark aura toward all 4 corners of the city. Pay attention here, because after snagging several monsters, he finally located the boss hiding on a concealed mountain. Exposed, the sovereign ordered his zombie army to swarm Yehi, treating our hero like he was the real villain. A massive vortex formed in the sky, distracting the monster, allowing Yehi to descend from the clouds and obliterate them. Furious that his plans were ruined, he threw a powerful punch at the hero, who remained unscathed. Yehei's turn, but he could not hurt him either. In response, the boss landed a direct punch to Yiha's face, shattering his mask into pieces. Next, the sovereign kept pummeling our main character like a punching bag until Yihi felt the full force right in his gut. That blow genuinely hurt. It was all a trap to drag the sovereign straight into the dimension of killing intent. Once inside, Yehi ruthlessly slashed the monster with his scythe. In heavy damage, the enemy now craved our protagonist's powerful body even more. Boss blocked the blade with his indestructible golden bracelet, shoving the hero backward. But Yiha got fired up, unleashing a flurry of devastating slashes he learned from his master, hitting his foe multiple times, tenderizing him like barbecue meat. Then he activated the Zawarudo technique, trapping him in an energy sphere. I know what you are thinking, and yes, Yehi absorbed another power, unlocking a massive S-rank beast, a legendary alien tree with ridiculous powers, leaving Yehi as happy as a kid with a PlayStation 5. His excitement spiked when the system announced that the 10-headed Gina could be fused with the Diora. This ultimate fusion could boost his stats infinitely, especially since it contained the golden gene within its core. Recognizing this was his chance to destroy Fu Hongsheng, he initiated the fusion process immediately. Afterward, Yehi interrogated a zombie who revealed the existence of the Beast Emperor, capable of using Grandmaster techniques. Yehi grew deeply concerned upon learning that this dangerous new enemy was already marching straight toward Huadu, leaving the city completely defenseless because its strongest masters were away at war. Meanwhile, in the secret realm of the Nine Dragons River, the Hadu base was downgrading B-rank beasts down to D-rank. Soldiers were relaxing, enjoying a nice barbecue. They were so overconfident that even old Xiao, who was supposed to be guarding, left his post to join the party, letting the intruder slip right past them. The invaders were led by one of the 4 legendary generals under the Beast Emperor, to massacre and weaken the soldiers using a hit list from Fu Hongsheng, forcing everyone to bow to the emperor. Within moments, the brutal invaders wiped out every single defender of Huadu inside that secret realm. While attempting to cross the rift, one monster nearly lost a foot to the protective barrier set by human experts. Bypassed the system, they disguised themselves with weak monster remnants and entered the blue planet. Meanwhile, at the Council of Huadu's 9 families, the elders were frantically debating Nua's sudden announcement, which demanded the immediate return of the Grandmasters. They had been anxious about their top-tier fighters, believing Fu Hongsheng was isolating himself in meditation to gain power. What do you and I make of this greed that divides everyone? Tell me, what do you think happens when the Masters return? Meanwhile, Nine Dragons River, a torrent surged from the sea, turning the water black and killing all the fish. People feared a new rift, but trust me, when that monster appeared, it swatted everyone like helpless little flies. Inside the command center, utter panic broke out upon confirming that a sovereign had invaded the imperial capital. Wei director Wang Xing ordered a massive alert while desperately waiting for Fu Hongzhen to finally return. 4 Huadu masters stepped up to challenge the sovereign, who only wanted to laugh at their absolute foolishness. He warned them to run since he only wanted strong prey, but their real plan was just to buy time. So they struck together, but their attack did absolutely nothing, and the beast countered with a swift, deadly strike. Air Force joined the fight, but none of their strikes could damage that robotic-looking nightmare. Everything changed when elite warriors arrived, sent directly from Le Quay, and the enemy was thrilled to face some high-ranking martial artists, but every clash ended in slaughter. Director Wong trembled at the casualty reports, furious that other factions refused to help. I'll pay attention here, desperate, he decided to activate a forbidden special register combat protocol. Although his agents tried to stop him, the choice to release this force was already made. Just like that, they unleashed 3 sinister-looking fighters to eliminate the massive threat. But the monster cared more about Cloud City, a hub of incredible martial power that deeply intrigued him. Still, one of the fighters, who looked like a mummy, was eager to battle the sovereign like old times. It unleashed its power of destruction, revealing heads on its arms as the trio prepared for battle. Sovereign lunged forward with a devastating attack, howling a war cry that sounded like Mahakala. The beast told its heads that he hoped the fighter from Cloud City would be stronger than this weak trio. One of those heads, with a giant bulging eye, was eager to start wrecking everything right away. They marched toward the massive skyscrapers, which immediately activated their high-tech defensive shields. Another fish-eyed head roared that resistance was futile, and even heavy missile fire failed to stop them. Finally, and I know exactly what you are thinking, the Sovereign lost track of his target. Right then, Master Gon materialized to face him, unleashing lethal slashes at a blindingly fast speed. The monster quickly countered with its lethal corrosion wind, and she realized this would be a brutal fight. The creature's heads, sliced up by her relentless attacks, realized they had finally found a worthy opponent. Gon accepted the challenge and, without wasting a single second, launched another furious offensive, dragging the Sovereign straight into her killing intent dimension, dodging his counterattacks to instantly reappear right behind him. Next, she executed her bloody slash, causing spheres of blood to completely trap the massive Sovereign inside. Watched as red energy shredded the monster like a blender, cutting him so fast that he could not regenerate. When sliced to pieces, the Sovereign praised her, but suddenly felt an incredibly strange weight pinning him down. Illusory zombies climbed all over him, but as an evolved being, he quickly realized it was just a mind trick. Gon was completely out of patience, and the recovered monster was ready to unleash another Mahakala blast, totally unfazed, even pulling out her phone to record the epic showdown, planning to show it to Yihei, before unleashing her guillotine of millions to bind and trap the beast. Right then, Gon noticed her own physical body starting to fade away from the enemy's attack. Luckily, her guillotine struck before she faded completely, saving her and returning her to normal in the nick of time. The beast regenerated too, finding her far tougher than Fu Hongshang, before triggering an even more bizarre transformation. She knew things were getting deadly serious now, and that she might die in this battle. For a split second, she looked on the bright side, imagining all the posthumous honors she would receive. Looking at the monster's colossal sword, she realized she still had way too much to live for. She attacked with everything she had until sensing a powerful ally arriving to turn the tide. Meanwhile, over in Longate, and that is where we leave them, with everyone trembling for Huadu as a giant vortex swallows the city. Get ready, you and I are watching a masked warrior challenge the Sovereign. King wanted to know his opponent's name, but only got monster as a response, leaving the Eye of Tandera and Master Gong completely baffled. Then the ruler charged at the mysterious masked man, but ended up taking a massive nuclear blast straight to the face. In that mask, our main character, Yehei, was simply testing the brutal destructive impact of his 10-headed Gina power. The ruler seemed thrilled to find a worthy opponent and rushed into battle, but with his Gina eyes active, Yehei saw every single move in slow motion. Wanting to test the techniques of his brand new S-rank model, Yehei created highly refined cell clones to surround his opponent, and they all had the exact same insane power as the original. Ruler froze in absolute terror, completely unable to move once the legendary Zawarudo technique was unleashed. Using this perfect opening, Yehei unleashed an incredibly devastating combination of nuclear strikes right against him. Massive, a second sun seemed to rise, before the temperature slowly dropped as the clones dissolved. The director of Lukwei watched, wondering when Yehei had gotten this insanely powerful. Even Yehei respected the beast's durability for surviving a blast of that scale. Mention here, the Sovereign tried to regenerate using a demon orb, but our hero wasn't allowing that audacity. Grabbed him tightly by the ear and dragged him away from Huadu, promising to show him how a third sun is made. Impressed by Yehei's strength, the ruler offered him a deal: abandon his humanity, join the emperor, and rank 5th in their empire within decades. But Yehei found it utterly insulting that he would have to wait that long just to reach the top 5. Plunged the monster into the mountains, casually revealing that he had stopped being a normal human a very long time ago. Now far outside of Huadu, our protagonist unleashed the full world-shaking power of his time-slowing ability. He never witnessed such terrifying strength and realized Yehei was a true threat to his emperor and refused to back down from destroying him. Their immense powers clashed violently. The Sovereign managed to land on his feet, but stepped right into a strange, slimy substance. Yehei explained that this was a special sap created by fusing his Gina energy with his very own home territory, and quickly climbed up and fully consumed the Sovereign's body, bringing him completely under Yehei's absolute control. His submission was total, exactly like a loyal dog wagging its tail for a brand new toy. Meanwhile, in Long, rumors spread about a masked warrior hunting down sovereigns. The director highly doubted this mysterious figure was trying to save the world. His assistant clarified that, according to Manhwa, the man's file only showed an obsessive urge to defeat every last sovereign. Shortly after, and guess what? Long called the director and revealed this mystery man belongs to an organization called Monstro, under the codename Demon Eye. This shocking news was enough to make the director's hair stand on end, which is hilarious considering the man is totally bald. While Wang tried to figure out this group's motives, a brilliant glowing object suddenly appeared floating high above Huadu City. Experts recognized the sovereign Asura, though his aura felt completely different, and then they spotted Yehei riding on his shoulder, utterly horrifying director Wang, especially since the fate of the entire world now rested in the hands of a completely unknown organization. Meanwhile, terrifying news about the sudden attack on the capital continued to spread everywhere, and the student council president confirmed several legendary fighters had fallen, meaning their entire world was now in extreme danger. Far away on Liuli Island, the powerful head of the Kai family was waiting for a mysterious aircraft to land. A man looking exactly like a Western sheriff stepped off, having crossed the vast ocean just to strike a deal with the patriarch. Back with our protagonist, Yehei named his giant beast Hook, making him the first official member of the Monstro organization. With the world in chaos, he decided to build an army but camouflaged the colossal robot to avoid drawing any unwanted attention. Shortly after, Yehei found himself staring at a strange tree that suddenly stared back with curiosity, giving him a massive jump scare as it came alive. Just as Yehei was about to punch the tree, he realized it was only the mad scientist in disguise. The doctor proudly revealed he engineered this entire forest using biotechnology, making Yehei incredibly impressed with his bizarre work. Next, the genius doctor showed him their secret base built in under a single month, leaving Yehei utterly stunned by his lightning-fast progress, and that to raise funds, the doctor used his healing powers to extort wealthy elites on the brink of death, while also turning several highly influential figures into vampires to benefit their growing Monstro organization. Yehei let him carry on with these shady methods, on the condition that he avoided using brutal torture techniques like laser birds. Finally, he showed us a lab filled with enslaved scientists, so you and I better get ready to see what crazy upgrades are coming next. Let's dive in and see how Yehei realizes the doctor's cyborg is just a puppet controlled by a proxy, real self is just a brain hooked to machines, saving energy by not maintaining an actual physical body. Our main character even starts thinking that the doctor and the artificial intelligence Kana would make the perfect couple. Afterward, Yehei introduces Hook to the doctor, strictly banning him from running any kind of scientific experiments on the giant. Next, they show him a massive aquarium holding a terrifying fish called Artificial Delay, which can generate pure nuclear energy. Yehei decides to give the scientist a sample of his YH cells for research. Doctor bows in gratitude, and with everything settled, our hero decides it is finally time to return to Huadu. While recovering the SIA was a massive success, a strict new order with curfews and food rationing now rules the city. Yehei notices the place has changed a lot, though it recovered surprisingly fast from that brutal, explosive battle. So he asks Manhwa to drop him off at Longay headquarters, where his first day as an intern begins. But watch closely as he enters the headquarters. It's totally empty except for the grumpy agent Linju. He points out his desk, and when he asks if she's all alone, the agent simply nods in total resignation. Any combat casualties and warriors guarding the border, she's completely buried under a massive pile of paperwork. Cheer up his brand new colleague, Yehei secretly slips a brain activation worm into her tea, knowing it easily beats the power of guarana powder. Just as she is enjoying her tea, a riot alert in the city pops up, absolutely infuriating her since she planned to grab lunch. Seeing a golden opportunity to prove his worth, Yehei immediately offers to go handle the situation instead. Lin hesitates to send an intern into action, but he asks her to trust him. Suddenly, the veteran agent smells a delicious aroma. Right before her eyes, a spectacular illusionary feast appears, and despite knowing it is fake, she decides to indulge. Yeha jokingly admits he only took advantage of her extreme exhaustion so he could get to work in peace. Lin makes it clear that elite agents train incredibly hard to resist these kinds of mind powers, and she even confesses that Yeha's illusions are at a level that no Xuanu warrior could ever withstand. In the end, she warns him to stay safe, refusing to take responsibility if anything bad happens to him. Before she even finishes speaking, Yeha is already gone, leaving an energy drink and a sweet note to restore her strength. You saw that too, right? A surprisingly sweet gesture. Meanwhile, the southwest border of Xia is pure chaos. Yeha travels by bus disguised as Muhammad, using his secret techniques to block out the terrible stench of the place. The news reports state that special forces have successfully eliminated several terrorists linked to the recent rebellions. Faced with this, he decides to act cautiously to nip it in the bud, but a truck suddenly blocks their path. Two shady-looking men board the bus with the very obvious intention of robbing every single passenger on board. Terrified, the passengers rush to the back, leaving Yeha packed like a sardine, while one thug demands total cooperation. At that moment, two gigantic guys who are actually tattoo artists also climb on board. He announces he is going to force everyone to get the heart symbol tattooed on their chests, just like his. Yeha instantly recognizes the mark Nua showed him, thinking it is terrible that they are forcing people to wear it. Right then, a brave old man tries to stand up and confront the armed robbers face to face. In response, one thug swings his blade mercilessly at the elder, but his slash goes wild, cutting his own boss's arm instead. He glares at his partner with pure murderous rage, asking if he is trying to stage a rebellion against him. Stuttering, the man swears he did not mean to do it, claiming the knife moved entirely on its own. The boss does not buy the story and orders his giant tattoo artist to eliminate the traitor right on the spot. In absolute shock, including his own, the skinny subordinate easily defeats both of the massive goons. Furious, the boss orders the rest of his gang to charge in. Passengers watch in awe as every thug enters and immediately goes flying out. Even after taking down the entire gang, the terrified underling keeps insisting that none of this is his fault. Suddenly, he tackles the boss and drags him to the truck like a crying child, off into the distance, leaving you and me wondering what on earth just happened here. The truck speeds down the highway, while the robber drives with a completely blank stare, looking just like a zombie. All right, you and I are diving straight into this madness. Realizing his thug was brainwashed, the mafia boss played servant and asked Yihi what he wanted. Calm main character only demanded intel on their gang, fully aware that a single wrong move inside this vehicle next to Yihi would mean his absolute destruction. Meanwhile, the van was speeding dangerously straight toward a massive cliff. Sick of the leader's lies, Yihi decided to finish these thugs off by releasing his terrifying tentacles. The guy begged for mercy, but Yihi made it clear he was no hero, letting his tentacles devour the criminals. After wiping them off the map, he used his insane skills to transform the old van into a sleek supercar equipped with an artificial intelligence named Nua. No Batman, but he definitely just designed his own badass Batmobile. He immediately ordered the artificial intelligence to head to Chen City and fabricate an identity for him as an eccentric billionaire heir. Instantly took off on the optimal route. Meanwhile, at the Arrowhead Lair, high-ranking leaders of the Bloodthorns were plotting to unleash absolute chaos upon society. They were pretty anxious, since the Longquay organization was maintaining a strict military lockdown across the entire region. However, one of the women in the syndicate insisted that this was the absolute perfect moment to strike. He explained that young Master Yi, an eccentric billionaire heir with massive influence in high society, was the ultimate target for the organization to exploit and steal his fortune. Even though the others feared a trap, the woman insisted they had to take the risk and seize this opportunity without hesitation. Persuaded by her words, the leader ordered them to travel to Chen City to personally confront this supposed billionaire. Pay attention here, because Yiho was already 10 steps ahead of them and possessed all their criminal files. When his servant reported that the trio wanted an audience, he approved it instantly, knowing they were walking straight into a slaughterhouse. The terrorists arrived in the city, but the blonde woman felt an intense gaze on them and noticed the citizens acting strangely peaceful. Suddenly, the car slammed on the brakes and they decided to retreat. Meanwhile, the zombies inhabiting the area simply watched in silence as their dinner escaped right out of their grasp. Confessed to her partners that she just had a premonition of their tragic death, furious at her for hiding it, yelling they never would have come, explaining that in her terrifying vision, their deaths happened deep inside a forest, while right now they were in the middle of a city. Right at that exact second, a tiny red flower began sprouting from the roof of their vehicle, which was actually one of Yihee's cells to project his mind. Instantly, he unleashed his power, growing a massive forest that trapped the car completely. He appeared right before her as the absolute ruler of her destiny, and the woman realized with absolute horror that this was the exact scene from her premonition. Saw her dreadlocked teammate trapped in the wreckage, begging for help, while the other was already dead from the brutal impact of the crash. She only replied that no one escapes fate, and seconds later the car exploded with him inside. Blonde closed her eyes, accepting her end. However, a single drop of blood slowly dripped from Yehi's finger. Offered to save her on one condition: she must surrender her body and soul entirely. Drank the blood from his finger, instantly becoming his loyal servant. Immediately began writhing in pure agony for being far too greedy. As scales matching Yehi's heavy armor started spreading across her skin, using their mental link, he probed the Bloodthorns, discovering that their leader was hiding out cautiously aboard a top-secret submarine. He knelt before Yihi, who summoned 15 clones to accompany her to the enemy base and slaughter every single target without mercy. Over the next month, the news reported the end of the rebellions, with crime rates dropping practically down to zero. Only top officials knew of the vigilante hunting criminals, even forwarding his classified files directly to the military high command. Meanwhile, Yiha was soaring over the open ocean, but his magnetic field had not detected any submarine yet, and I both know it was only a matter of time before he found his prey. Unleashed the full form of the Diora into the ocean, starting a search with gamma cells until he located his target lurking deep in the abyss. Suddenly, the vessel's crew detected a massive presence closing in at high speed and ordered sonar blasts to scare off the beast, but the desperate attempt failed completely. Duty then warned that the intruder would breach their position in under 5 minutes. In response, they launched Trident torpedoes at the Diora, but the creature kept charging forward without a single scratch. The beast rammed the ship, destroying the hull, and trust me, it only gets worse. Join me as we watch this. The captain ordered every single torpedo launched. Stopped Demora from unleashing his power and wiping out the crew. And Garrett, the leader of the Bloodthorn and an S-rank specialist, went to face the monster, furious to see his legacy destroyed. Grabbed a nuclear battery and threw it at Demora, who simply swallowed the projectile whole. Really waited to see his enemy blow into 1,000 pieces, but after the internal explosion, the creature just burped and wanted an antacid. The leader was left completely speechless by what he just witnessed. Then came the monster's turn, unleashing powerful sonic waves that left Garrett completely dazed and disoriented. Even so, the S-rank master refused to back down, sprouting deadly tentacles from his back. In response, Demora sprayed gas directly into his face, paralyzing his body like heavy mud. Shortly after, Garrett was consumed by atomic energy bubbles that extinguished his very last breath of hope. After the battle, Demora glided across the water, heading straight to the southeast triangle to find Yehe. Meanwhile, in Fae, a guard watched the horizon with binoculars. Pay close attention, because here is where everything changes. A massive silhouette as huge as an island was moving at high speed. Total panic hit them when they realized it was a giant sea beast. Another torpedo boat rushed in to provide backup. Demora unleashed his cosmic nuclear attack, completely vaporizing the ship and triggering a giant wave that wiped out the command tower. In Faye's command center, a chaotic emergency alert went off warning everyone about a sovereign beast. The general ordered them to fire every single missile and bomb before the creature could even touch land. The monster's signature vanished right off the radars, leaving the high-ranking officer completely baffled. Meanwhile, Demora bypassed the traps to destroy the army, unleashing absolute chaos and tearing the entire fleet to shreds. Ship's commander saw the terrifying beast closing in, and moments later, his own vessel started sinking fast. Within minutes, every single ship was destroyed, officially launching Demora's brutal onslaught against Fae and all neighboring nations. The monster reached Nidonia. Their strongest warrior stepped up to defend the nation, but he was instantly crushed. The monster then continued its path toward Mian and Nan. Bet you didn't expect this amid the chaos. The corrupt president actually fled in a private plane to avoid being eaten. However, a tiny piece of Yehei was left stuck to the plane's window. Himself, Supreme Leader Yi slipped inside the aircraft, absolutely terrifying every single crew member. An agent tried to attack it with a super strike, but ended up with Yehei's tentacle impaling his body instead. Next, Gina's arms tore right through the remaining men, leaving 0 survivors, while back in Nan, the beast Demora kept flattening everything in sight. Yeha basically saw herself as a living legend after causing such an absolute bloodbath. Have Adu, a Western sorcerer known as the Frost Demon King, watched the destruction. He loved collecting frozen trophies of his victims, and adding Demora to his collection was now a matter of pride. Mage's ultimate goal was to lure the monster to the center of Zaya to claim a massive reward. Legends whispered that every now and then a truly sinister witch would be born in the West. They say she triggered the fall of Atlantis, ruined Pompeii, and brought the Black Plague that wiped out half of Europe. Because of this, the Holy Knights of the Faith launched an all-out witch hunt, yet she hadn't appeared in the 21st century because she lived hidden inside Pavla Adu as his conjoined twin sister. Mora quickly realized there was still one survivor left, the sorcerer Pavle, who was flying right toward him with icy blasts. The beast unleashed its nuclear rage, but Pavla made an ice mirror to reflect it. A massive energy sphere slammed directly into its own reflection, setting off a huge explosion. Ye noticed the sorcerer's Western features and, finding it fun to fight against actual magic, launched a whole new wave of attack and vanished in a flash, instantly striking Demora from behind with sharp, frozen icicles. The strike barely scratched the beast, who lashed out in rage, but the clever mage simply teleported away. He did that his opponent kept running, but he soon realized he was being lured right into a trap, so he chose to play along. Once they hit Zaya, Pavle was surprised to see the beast's movement slowing down, then fired a barrage of ice arrows at Dora. You and I will find out soon if this beast actually went into hibernation. Get ready, because you and I are about to watch this arrogant jerk make the absolute worst mistake of his life. In that exact moment, Yehi unleashed his full power, but the slippery wizard managed to teleport away just in time. The strike was already on its way, and this time it hit the bullseye. The beast was only faking. Yehi wasted no time, showing his true strength and slamming his rival straight into the dirt. Pavle got up furious, but our main character was already behind him, whispering that he knew about the girl hidden under his cloak. The wizard froze in shock. Realizing his sister was exposed, Pavle swore death upon him and ordered the shadow tree Demora to launch a brutal attack. But Pavle, a master of dark arts, cast a massive magic circle that froze the monster solid from head to toe. He possessed endless mana, all thanks to the dark power of his witch sister. In seconds, the Demora became a frozen statue, and Pavle admired it as his greatest masterpiece. Suddenly, the creature's branches glowed with pure gold, completely shattering the icy prison to pieces. The wizard couldn't accept losing a magic duel. This was an absolute humiliation. So much bullying as a kid because of his sister, he refused to be stepped on again. He unleashed a colossal tornado straight at the giant. Now pay attention here, because our main character doesn't even flinch before unleashing a counter-attack that will leave you stunned. Against the typhoon, the beast answered with pure fire. Burning flowers bloomed everywhere, until the monster spat a wave of flames that scorched everything. So intense the wizard started to melt, losing track of the massive hand coming right for him. He barely escaped by a hair, avoiding being crushed by a millimeter, then hid in the sky to plan his final attack. But his relief was short-lived. The giant's fingers shattered the fog with Yehei on its head. The war of fire and ice exploded once again, though this time the wizard chose to run, realizing he was no match for Yehei, leader of the beast. Yehei blasted a devastating lightning bolt at the coward, who dodged it and even mocked his aim. The clouds overhead were the perfect setup for Yehi to summon an ear-splitting thunderclap. Pavle saw nothing but a blinding flash, completely paralyzed by the massive electric shock with no way to run. Suddenly, a spear of lightning pierced straight through his body. electrocuting him ruthlessly. From above, Ye watched the bodies of the wizard and his sister get impaled on the jagged ice. But that was the exact moment the true witch finally woke up. Just as Director Adler received combat reports about a masked fighter, the wizard was supposed to be helping in the grand battle against the CIA. And just when you and I thought it was over, the clouds finally start to clear, allowing the town to witness the beating the wizard was taking. Yehe ordered his monster Pengu to deliver the final blow. As the fire consumed the icy prison where the wizard lay, the witch's pale hand burst right through the ice, effortlessly blocking Yihi's heavy strike. Then she unleashed a freezing blast that completely covered Pengu, making Yehe realize she surpassed the legendary Chuzhou. The colossus began crumbling like a mountain of rocks. Far away, Director Adler watched in pure shock as the Witch of the Century awakened, freezing everything in her path. Fearing a new ice age, the man seriously considered activating his secret space weapon from the east. But an agent reported that Yehi had already subdued the witch, trapping her tightly with his tentacles. Even so, she escaped by splitting her body into multiple pieces, putting herself back together like nothing happened. Completely amazed by her strange ability to transform into pure energy, seeing this, he decided to devour her, unleashing a celestial web of tentacles to quickly wrap the abomination. The trap was so clean that Yehe licked his lips at the feast. The witch let out a deafening shriek heard from miles away, concluded that despite her overwhelming power, the woman lacked any real intelligence. Nowhere she replicated Pangu's massive form using nothing but pure ice. But Yihi's arsenal is endless, countering with his solar thousand-hand form. Stunned, the director demanded to know this warrior's true identity. And that's where we leave it, with the AI showing us his brutal fight against the three-headed beast of Huadu. Hearing about this monster organization and the codename Demon Eye left the man completely intrigued. Clash of Giants rages on as the Ice Pangu loses one of its horns. And so, the witch kept unleashing massive spells, treating her opponent like a rebellious little child. Yehi summoned the blazing form of Zhuang, unleashing a fire dragon that got blocked by frozen spikes. It was enough for Yehi as he charged straight at his opponent, though the moment he tried touching her, everything froze instantly. The witch stood up with a smirk, but this time her entire body ended up engulfed in roaring flames. Iho completely suppressed the woman's existence, consuming her to refine her spirit and put her under his absolute control. Next, he destroyed the belt and the satellites spying on the battle, finally declaring Southeast Korea completely pacified. Then activated the cloud's stirring technique, hiding his form until his integration with the witch was fully complete. Meanwhile, over at Longay headquarters, the director received urgent reports about the Southeast Triangle's rebellion against the CIA. While he had allies to push for democracy, he was far more pleased with the massive backing from Diora. Pay close attention here, because the rise of this monster group and the defeat of the 21st century witch only point to a dark future. As for Yihi, he received a legendary tier item for capturing the witch, choosing to head home while keeping an eye on the enemy. With the enemy population wiped out, he concluded that this brutal choice was necessary for the sake of C. I am the ultimate guardian of this world, but also its most merciless, bloodthirsty tyrant. Of this, Ye Hei accepted the heavy blood debt that came with ruthlessly harvesting thousands of lives. Now he decided it was time to face the 9 families of Huaju and send those old mummies back to their sarcophagi. In the region, universities went back to normal, and civilians could finally breathe a sigh of relief again. Students returned to their routines, and the hot topic was always the masked man and Demora, who truly turned the tide of the war. Photos of Yehi's monsters were even circulating around, being treated almost like rare collector's items. While one student speculated that the masked warrior was among them, the others bowed respectfully to Yihi, who had just walked into the Dragon Blood headquarters, shocking the youngsters by actually greeting them back. I know what you're thinking, but our main character only has one goal: crush the 9 families and find Chuzhou, meditating in the training hall to raise his martial energy. When Wang suddenly appeared to say someone wanted him, the young man smiled, thinking it must be Yihi, but the vice president clarified it was a far more distinguished person. He went to meet Chu Fangqi, the eldest son of one of the 9 families and his own half-brother. Right away, Chuzhou pointed out that Funky's family went into hiding during the entire war, The wealthy heir didn't deny it, but defended his family, claiming they did it for a very good reason. Since the country was now weakened, meaning it was finally time for the 9 families to take charge again. Chujo had zero interest in hearing that nonsense, but Funky still reached out to offer him a direct alliance. Chujo immediately rejected the offer, proudly declaring that his last name didn't belong to that Huadu bloodline. Funky backed off, expecting that reaction, but brought up the glory of dragon blood, seeing if he'd like to lead the association and represent the students. The boy froze for a few seconds, but walked away, completely ignoring the arrogant snob who kept pushing the subject. Later on, Chujo muttered that he wouldn't stand a ghost of a chance against the incredibly powerful Yehi, who is the current association president. Offended by that rejection, Chu Funky unleashed his incredible aura as his family desperately needed the students' support. Intense that Chujo stumbled, prompting the wealthy heir to offer him one final chance at power. Chujo realized he was trapped in an illusion as blood began dripping right before his eyes. A sinister monster appeared alongside a masked figure whom Chujo recognized as the warrior who wiped out several sovereigns. He demanded to know what such a terrifying entity was doing in the Huadu region. The being from Demon Eye invited him to join their ranks, making Chujo ask why they were even interested in him. Demon Eye answered that the young man's monstrous destiny was of massive interest to their group. Still processing this, the boy asked if Yihi was also a member of that very same group. And trust me, with that confirmation, Chujo decides to accept their proposal right away. You and I are about to see how the sovereign decides to help Chujo in this dilemma, firing a laser at his body to boost his martial intelligence. Meanwhile, back in reality, Funky felt the evolution in the boy's blood, but he was not intimidated, raising his own martial power to match. Both clashed at the exact same time, with the rich boy still trying to persuade Chujo into joining his side. But our hero snapped back, saying he would never join cowards who abandoned Huadu City when it needed them most. Suddenly, Wang opened the door and saw Yihei watching the duel. Funky mocked Chujo, bragging he would beat the entire association single-handedly. Watch this. At that exact moment, Yihei silenced him with one hand. Funky unleashed all his power to break free, but Yihei held him in the air, completely unfazed. Eldest Chu's son stared in pure disbelief as Yihei coldly told him it was now his turn to attack. Wang nearly panicked since Funky was an honored guest, but Yihei did not care and threw him straight out the window. Meanwhile, Chujo realized that from this moment on, he might actually become a true monster. Suddenly, the heavy tension vanished and the two friends shared a warm hug. Having missed each other, they walked off to catch up, leaving Wang totally lost on how to explain this to the powerful Chu family. Okay, pay close attention here. While Yihei discussed his split personalities, Chujo was more curious about when he actually joined the monster organization. Yihei explained that the demonic eye invited him right after that chaotic mission back in Lynch County, hiding the fact that he was the one who saved everyone, lying that the organization made him this strong. Chujo wanted to know how many high-level masters they had, and Yihei instantly replied there were about 5 others like him. This made Chujo suspect a terrifying reality they might be planning an all-out invasion of Shia. But Yihei quickly reassured him, insisting everything was under control and to just follow the demonic eye's orders. After chatting, Chujo said goodbye, still deeply worried. Left alone, Yihei began to think. Would never hurt his dear friend. The next big plan absolutely required his help. The 9 families always held massive influence, even over the emperors. Through millennia of history in Nua, Yihei uncovered mysterious, highly classified documents. He had already learned from his encounter with Demon Beros that pure faith was the ultimate energy source. From the very beginning of Shia, wizards and alchemists of the first dynasty built tech to absorb dragons, tying royalty directly to the nation's fate under imperial decree. This meant that if any royal family faced disaster, they could manipulate that qi to trigger catastrophic events across all of Shia. Because of this, Yihei knew that wiping out the 9 families would be incredibly dangerous for the entire population. His solution was to steal the dragon qi, the root of their strength. Luckily, the way to do it was written in Nua. Every 70 years, The elite families chose one of their own to act as the vessel for this immense energy. Chained up and isolated, they became a living container of power. It was brutal, but Yehei had to transfer this chi to royal-blooded Chujo. And so he made a silent vow to find a way to save his dear friend once everything was finally over. With his plan set, Yehei went off to find Chujo, disguising himself as the demonic eye to begin a baptism ritual. Writhed in absolute agony, Chujo covered his burning eyes. The entity explained he had injected special energy to alter his vision, officially naming Chujo, his disciple, with an exclusive ocular technique. In return, Chujo deeply thanked him and formally called him master. All of this unfolded in the boy's room while he meditated, as Yihei told him to wash the blood away with moisture from the air. The powerful new technique fused with Chujo's eyes, insight into the spiritual realm, boosting his entire physical body with his signature YH cells. In Chujo's physical form, Yihei believed he could finally endure the raw dragon chi to finish the mission. Later, Yihei paid a visit to his master Gong, who was absolutely furious that he had vanished without a single word, presenting a sweet gift to smooth things over and win back her favor, then asked him what he wanted. Getting straight to the point, Yihei requested the second part of the Killing Heart Bodhi scripture, shocking her when she realized he had already surpassed Grandmaster level, but proudly put on her glasses to check the text. You and I know this is going to get absolutely insane. Come along with me as we watch this creepy demonic eye clone train Chujo in his insane new powers. The young warrior focused so hard his pupils dilated, letting him literally see the world through the threads of causality. The entire world laid bare like this. Chujo felt so powerful he thought he could crush his past in just 3 minutes. His master corrected him. This skill also lets him cast illusions and summon massive divine beings. Suddenly his eyes began to burn, and his master warned that he must train ruthlessly to fully control this devastating new technique. After hours of brutal training, Chujo was completely exhausted, but quitting was never an option. His master handed over a small case, reminding him that real mastery always takes time. Opening it, Chujo was startled by a waving slime, jumping back in pure shock thinking it was some kind of beast. Ye calmed him down, introducing the cute creature as his close friend. After Chujo swore it looked just like Ye, slime immediately rubbed against the boy, and he felt his vital life force instantly surge to the next level, while the demon eye ordered him to keep pushing over in the capital of Gunan, furious about Chu Funky's public disgrace. Now pay attention here, because the head of the Dragon Blood Association himself admitted to totally humiliating that young noble, leaving the powerful elders in complete disbelief that Fenny could lose to some random rookie. Them, both Longquei and Huadu were sending a blunt, aggressive warning to challenge the 9 great families. One enraged elder immediately started pushing the council, demanding they launch an all-out war, but another shut him down, warning that the public would hate them for it. Tension in the room became suffocating. The explosive argument finally stopped when the clan's great patriarch, Chu Hongtang, decided to step in. He declared that their absolute main focus had to be the sacred Dragon Chi ceremony, happening in 2 months. Ruling enraged the red-bearded elder so much that he quietly swore a deadly oath to destroy his rival. Outside the massive walls, Afi felt frustrated because only royalty could enter, but after a quick telepathic scolding from Yehi, he hatched a scheme to get his target inside an ultra-exclusive club for high society, the Golden Horse Club, a lavish paradise packed with beautiful, wealthy socialites. Inside the office, the manager was busy chewing out an employee when Yehi suddenly burst in, demanding to speak with her. The woman almost fell out of her chair in shock, but he easily manipulated her to hand over the VIP guest list and their darkest secrets. Meanwhile, the arrogant and famous Master Lu entered the main lounge. Everyone bowed down to him, though the local heirs absolutely hated having these haughty Huadu nobles around. Luke got comfortable in his private VIP section and asked what special services they offered. An attendant bragged about having the most beautiful women, making the noble ask if the city's top fighter was also on the menu. The terrified servant nervously replied that she served the powerful Longquei faction, so they preferred not to cause any trouble with them. I know what you're thinking. And yeah, Lu was incredibly insulted that these locals dared to hesitate. Out of nowhere, he smashed a bottle over the worker's head, screaming that Xiaoa belonged to royalty, not to Long Kui, and out of the club, utterly looking down on everyone in this city, suddenly stopped and bumped into his own bodyguard. Completely trapped in Yihi's illusion of a monstrous, towering, magical beast, Lu tried to scramble for an alarm, but was instantly hit by our protagonist's lethal needle finger strike. The attack made his head swell up like a balloon before exploding right in front of his blood-drenched men. Smiling with pure sadistic joy, the main character told them to relax, mocking them like they were nothing but helpless little babies. The third heir of the Lu family, now the sole survivor, desperately tried to negotiate with Yehi. Instead of talking, Yehi charged up his deadly special move and drove his finger straight into his forehead. He mockingly thanked him for introducing himself, allowing a Fae to enter his body and possess him completely, leaving the remaining survivors frozen in sheer horror. Controlling Lu, Afa was ordered to turn the rest into loyal servants. With his new sleeper agent safely inside the imperial capital, Yehi departed, fully prepared to begin his master plan. To succeed, and that's where we leave things, with him meditating deeply to spread a psychic plague targeting only the weak-minded. All right, you and I are about to see how Chuzhou had to master the Dragon Chi, fusing his spiritual and physical strength to survive. Ye knew this evolution was only possible by channeling the causal energy directly through his very own eyes. So he unleashed the 10-headed hyena to awaken that power instantly. Body turned golden, unleashing a monstrous strength that went way beyond imagination. Months later, Yehei, now known as the Demonic Eye, was training with Chuzhou, demanding his disciple show his growth so he could grant him a brand new tier of causal energy with a single glance. In response, Chuzhou opened his eyes. Unleashing his full power, Chuzhou let loose his beast form wrapped in an icy aura, making his master, the Demonic Eye, proud. The master fired back, activating the power of the Hellstar to shatter his apprentice's freezing ice. Thanks to his newly awakened eyes, Chuzhou could easily track the glowing spheres intercepting everything around them. Boy unleashed the ice dragon, firing arrows at his master's pulsing ring before rushing in with sharp claws. Those spheres detonated, freezing Chuzhou in place as a barrage of heavy blows struck him all at once. Watch closely here. The master noticed something unexpected. Boosted by the dragon monster, Chuzhou struck from behind as a decoy. The master spotted the clone technique, but still ended up frozen solid. Meanwhile, Chuzhou seized his single opening to close the distance. The master had already dodged. Even so, the ice dragon lunged forward, swallowing him and shattering his frozen body. For a split second, Chuzhou thought he won, but it was all just an illusion. Yehi declared his friend would be trapped forever, lacking the 10-headed hyena needed to control causal energy. The master added that only by triggering dark emotions from intense memories could Chuzhou truly unlock his peak potential. In the nightmare, Chuzhou saw himself as a chained, freezing child, and knelt before the ruthless clan patriarch, who ordered him to execute the woman right beside him. The man begged the old elder, who was actually his own father, to spare their lives. The patriarch showed no mercy, since his son dishonored the Chu clan by fleeing with a commoner and fathering a bastard child. His mother desperately pleaded for her son's safety, offering to sacrifice her own life in exchange. Honestly, doesn't this break your heart? Little Chuzhou begged his father to fight back and escape, but the executioner's blade was already raised, and with her final breath, his mother prayed that her son would grow up to be a legendary warrior. The boy screamed in pure rage, shattering his chains and awakening his hidden power under the watchful gaze of the Demonic Eye. Ready to fight, the disciple opened his eyes. The look in Chuzhou's gaze had completely changed. He only understood the power of the eyes of causality, feeling grateful to have seen his mother one last time. The master explained that to unlock special techniques in each eye, the user must first carry an incredibly deep, painful burden, then ordered Chuzhou to attack him using his newly awakened skills. The boy hesitated, fearing he might hurt him, but Yehi laughed, saying he could never be destroyed so easily. With that, Chuzhou unleashed his power, radiating an absolutely absurd amount of energy. Though the blast wiped out everything, the master dodged effortlessly, appearing completely untouched before a shocked Chuzhou. Demonic Eye was highly pleased. Feeling satisfied, demanded to see his divine form. a requirement to qualify for the organization's high-rank missions. Joe worried he might go blind from the strain, but the demonic eye assured him his armor would shield him. Just then, a fae appeared, telling him to trust, boost his entire state to the limit. The two fused together, and even Afi felt the immense pressure of the eyes of causality, and that is how his divine form awakened, revealing the true god Erlang of Qingguan, an epic moment you and I just witnessed together.